right, let's vote. Call to order, caucus. All right, number 3, Councilman McNeil.
Mark.
I don't think she had a problem with this.
All right, let me just get through these here.
Yep, go for it.
McNeil's good to go?
Yep, she's good to
All
go.
right.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just new to this. Where are we looking at? What are you looking at? What's
Number
happening?
three.
All right, the beginning of the packet. Check it out.
Number 3.
These are coming out of committee,
The
the
first
property.
one, this one.
These are currently in committee of the whole.
Okay, right there, okay,
All right,
all right.
we're good. Number 5.
She's good.
Good, all right. Number 7, Councilman Moody.
Good.
Burmaster, number 1.
Good.
Number 2, good?
Burmaster 2.
Yep. All right, Board of Estimate and Apportionment,
Jay,
number 3.
anything on it, Jay?
No, we looked it over and everything seemed to be kosher on it, so. Do you have any problem on it?
No, we had the budget director.
Yeah.
Get the DNA thing right. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
so
All
The only
right.
thing we wanted to note that we did discuss at the meeting was that if there's any more movement, we do want to recognize that we're moving things out of the fire lines into DPW and police.
So it was a low estimate to start with.
Right, so when we move into the next budget. That's it, that's the only thing we
You
wanted
said
to
that
note.
it'll be adjusted.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, number 4, rescind the following legislation. Councilman Moody. Park Ave website, good?
Any questions?
You checked with the police, everybody's good on it?
Lisa, good?
Wait a minute, on the next one, just please do me a favor.
Yeah.
Whatever email that you got from the chief.
Oh, yeah, we're supposed to text.
Yeah.
Oh,
please
we're supposed to attach,
on the
okay.
next one.
Okay.
Make a note.
Oh, you mean the next time, not the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5, good?
Same thing, please.
Number 6, Commissioner Deeds.
And the same thing, meaning we're supposed to attach what, there's supposed to be a cover sheet that goes to Commissioner?
No, so with the,
It's two separate legislations for the same street, because it's 2 separate signs.
Oh,
what we usually do with the packet, what we do is for when the police, they do research on whether it's valid or not, they email that back and acknowledge the fact that we could do that, we just put it back.
okay.
It's not a safety problem.
Good, okay, good. Thank you.
All right, number 6, the new deputy clerk for Oneida County Clerk's Office. Commissioner Deeds. Out in Glassville, New York.
We can do. a
Yeah,
clerk.
can we do Glassville?
I don't think, I think we only do the city of Utica, how are we doing?
No, so, Councilman, I looked into this.
Glassville, New York.
Speak louder, because the judge would like to hear you.
In the county, yes.
Judge?
You can do that.
That's what I was gonna say, so I concur. I looked into this, I concur with the judge.
So as long as she works in the county.
She maintains
Well,
an
she only
office
can
or a
sign in the
business
city of Utica, though, right?
In the city.
In the city, not the county, in the city.
So no, so listen, she only can sign it while she's in the city though.
Yes.
The business actually has to be done within the city.
Within the city
Correct.
limits, and
Yeah.
because she has an office in the city, she's.
Right.
Okay, so we wouldn't give that to somebody who says, well, I don't have a residence or an office, but I'm gonna come into town, right? So it's because she has a place of business.
She has a reason to receive it.
Makes sense, thank you.
Her
Very much.
application.
Just her employment, so it covers you. So in other words, if she's employed in that office, any type of employment slip, check or anything that you receive that is her office, that covers you on it.
Yes.
All right, the tax rate.
All
right.
Okay, let's go to the next thing. Ordinance authorizing sale of DPW parks, vehicles, and equipment for auction.
Hold on, this is the stuff that's not, this is the second piece of the packet. Let's go to Jack first, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that needs to be moved.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Guys, 3 minutes. Just for the new members on the Common Council, my name is Jack Spaeth. I am your economic developer, so I'm just,
I'm the good looking Jack.
oh, I keep hearing that, but I'm not so
Oh, I
sure.
like his beard, you know, he's got that little.
Yeah. Celeste, sorry, we're just kind of throwing him there,
That works.
You wanna put my-
but, sorry about that, Judge.
There you go.
I'm not very good at
We're good,
saying.
we're good. Hey,
Oh,
we're playing baseball card.
okay.
All right,
So again, I'm your economic developer, so for the new members, Joe, Celeste, Bob, well, we know Frank.
Delvin.
Delvin, sorry about that. I do the Industrial Development Agency. I work on the city loans, okay, not the loans that the city takes out, but the loans for businesses. So if you know anybody that is expanding their business, coming into town, give me a call, and then I will try to, work with them and provide an incentive package if necessary, or I'm good at trying to locate buildings facilities for people, so just kind of an overview. One of the other things that I do work on are energy projects. So I secured a clean energy community through the help of this earlier group, $250,000 grant for lighting and control systems for Mike Mahoney in the engineering department. I work with NYSERDA on some other initiatives also, one of them being this right here, which is Heat Smart Utica. Take a couple, pass it down. On February 11th, from 5 to 7, I'll be having an open house over at the Hage building, which is located.
Which is LEED.
Correct,
certified.
correct. He's LEED certified, he has a green roof,
Right.
he has,
He catches all his water from his driveway, his parking lot.
he does that, but then also he has a geothermal system
Right.
in his parking lot. So this initiative is a 3-year campaign through NYSERDA that is basically what we're trying to do is to connect installers with the residents and businesses of the city of Utica. So these flyers are currently going out, and they have been for a little bit. Pardon me.
Why does it say 2019?
That's when we originally
Oh, okay,
started.
it's
yeah.
just the name of the program.
Yeah, it's, the 19 is not, we're gonna go run it, again, this is just one piece of paper. We'll have, it's a 2020, 2021 that will be going out
So
to.
can I ask you a question
Sure.
about this thing? So I send out a monthly newsletter. Do you want me to promote this in my February 1st newsletter?
You can do that, sure.
Okay.
So what I was saying is these are going out currently in the water bills.
Oh,
Going-
okay.
Going out to everybody in the city of Utica.
Oh, great, cool, okay.
So we've identified some installers that were, reputable installers that we're trying to hook up based on whatever the needs of the businesses are. Trying to work through, myself and my consulting engineer have gone through a number of the commercial buildings throughout the Genesee Street corridor, Munson Williams, the library, county building, state building, Harza, Adirondack Bank building. So any of those larger structures we've gone through, we're secured the bills for those buildings, so then we're trying to build that database, and then as the need arises, then we're providing, again, trying to make that connection.
Is this related to the PACE stuff we passed in
No,
2017?
no.
Okay.
And the PACE program has changed. There's no demand on the city anymore.
Okay.
So it might be something that I bring up in the future, because, again, that kind of will dovetail as far as providing financing for those businesses that are looking to install energy efficiency systems into their buildings. So I will be sending out a press release within a week and a half. Again, if you can clear your schedules, February 11th, Tuesday from 5 to 7 at the Hage Building. I will have a notice that goes out into all of your mailboxes. We're reaching out to a number of architects, engineers, developers, contractors, pretty much anybody that can know the systems, and then be able to, Joe's gonna be building a building and I'm his architect. Hey, did you think about, some type of a heat pump or a geothermal system? If he is, then we can suggest that, and then again, trying to make that connection so everybody's involved.
And it's also for private homeowners, right?
Correct, right. So all of these flyers are currently going out. I probably have 12,000 so far that are going out. So, yes,
Is there a
sir.
list of city-owned companies that will install this heating and cooling equipment that we could they'll be preferred?
Well, that's what we have done. We've identified 3 installers that, right, so you're not just, we're not just talking to you about it and then, oh, here's a piece of paper, go out and find it. Okay,
But
so
those 3 installers are in the city of Utica?
no, they're not, because there's not that many installers that actually do this kind of work. It's typically an HVAC type of issue.
Heating system?
Yes, I mean, it's a heating system, but like the geothermal system that Hage has. Okay. BB helped them on that. He had another company, so they'll be part of the attendees at the
So a normal
forum.
install, do they put the money up first for the installation? Or how's it
It's
work?
just, it's the same as if you were to say, hey, I want a new boiler system in my
Garage,
house.
say my own boiler in my garage.
Right, so then you're just gonna go out and find somebody that does that type of work and hire them.
Okay.
So then, again, we're just trying to be a matchmaker here to try to, part of what I'm trying to do is to get energy efficiency and climate control and stuff like that, into the,
So how many?
into the city.
How many Utica-based installers are there? Utica installers?
That I don't know off the top of my head.
And, I mean, what this is, Frank?
I mean, one of the installers is Collis.
Okay.
So I mean, we see Collis trucks, running all
Right.
around.
But I took, Frank, I took your question to be, are we giving preference to
Right,
business owners in our own
everybody on that
community?
list that, let's say I wanna install something, and you give me a list of 10 businesses that do this type of work.
Right. It's like Fiji would
And then we
be
could-
interested in something like
Okay,
this.
so
Angry
we
Heat.
can pick the installer, install it, and then we get reimbursed through NYSERDA.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get reimbursed fully, there's rebates
Right,
available.
whatever, yeah, whatever.
Right.
So what is the benefit to the city on this, or this is basically to?
Clean air.
Again, just trying to reach out to the community to get people involved so that they can, again, energy efficiency, greenhouse gas.
Saves people
Plus
money.
get a
It's
discount.
not like an ambient energy.
Discount in it, right?
Right.
It's not like an ambient energy thing or.
No. That's no.
But people save money and people, contribute to.
Right, for those that are climate conscious.
Right.
Right, so the greenhouse gases are always an issue. If you watched the debates yesterday, there was, everybody was, blasting about, the climate and all those issues. So this is, we're trying to do what we can to stem that. So, again, I'll have something in your mailboxes within a week or so.
February 11th.
Yes, February 11th, 5 to 7, some refreshments, and then, again, there'll be some boards that are there that explain what the rebates are, diagrams of the various systems, and just trying to provide as much information out there as we can to, and we probably have 50 people that have responded to this so far. The 8,400 just went out, probably yesterday or today.
I got one question, Jack.
Sure.
If there's like mom and pop, heating and air, HVAC kind of people that deal with this kind of stuff?
It's not just installing a furnace,
You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
intricacies in the system.
Exactly, is it okay if I invite some of those people?
Oh, you invited whoever you want. I mean, I'm anticipating 40 to 50 people maybe. Originally, we were thinking 30 to 40, but then when the list keeps growing, again, we're reaching out to architects, engineers, because those are the people that you first go to when you're looking to design. So if they know about that, about systems like this, then they can try to, push that on for the benefit of their client.
Okay.
Okay. And again, my cards. If anybody has any questions, again, for businesses that are growing, expanding, maybe coming into the area, please do not hesitate to call me, because that's what I do.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you
Very
everyone
much,
for your
Jack.
time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Great job, Jack, thank you.
We have
Thank
to
you for the
change a
time.
piece of legislation today. Number one on the former packet has a public hearing on January 29th. It should
Oh,
be
yeah.
February 5th.
Yeah, it should be the first meeting.
That's on the property where they're leasing the property to Compassion Coalition. That public hearing will be held on January
That might
February
be,
5th.
maybe, I don't know if I put that in there, but if I did, it's my
Thanks,
fault.
Ms. Hartnett.
That's
My
what-
fault.
Mhm.
Thanks, all you.
Okay.
Let's make sure all the public hearings make sense.
February
actually.
Because that's when the next council meeting is tonight. Okay?
Okay,
President Cook.
all right, let's continue. Now we got stuff coming out, or maybe coming
No,
out.
so this stuff, the reason it says legislation to be proposed in caucus, well, the first three pieces are pieces that
Already worked.
may normally have been put in committee. These came in.
Yep.
So we've got an ordinance authorizing the sale of DPW and parks vehicles. We have
The
a
easement.
we have a resolution approving and granting an overhead easement. And then we have a resolution for a solid waste service
How
charge
long were these,
adjustment.
how long were these in there?
No, they just came in. These weren't in committee.
Uh-huh,
But
all right.
2-227, we
Number
have
one
till the 20th
means
to put the
everybody.
committees together. So these are being presented in caucus. If someone would like to introduce these pieces of legislation.
Well, maybe Dave could talk on when he's here.
Well, right, but we'll discuss these.
Yeah.
Dave can present the DPW vehicles. The easement, I'm assuming someone would want to introduce and put in just general committee.
Well, yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
so,
ask Bob, since it's his
yeah,
area.
let's go
All
for
right,
it.
so-
Yeah. All right.
So, since I'm in charge again, All right.
The famous David Short, and I
David
mean
Short?
famous.
Yes.
All right, ordinance.
Where's my pictures? I
All
want
these-
pictures. You know how I am.
Pictures?
I want
We did-
pictures.
We did
Come on
buy,
down.
we did buy some new vehicles, and these are probably the ones that are going out the door, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
these are vehicles that have been determined that are no longer able to fix.
Mhm.
They're cost preventive, or we just can't find the parts for them anymore. And there are also pieces of equipment that just have been sitting there rotting away that,
25 and 30 years old, so
Yeah.
makes sense.
Repairs exceed the
You
value.
gave us a list in our packet last
Mhm.
meeting,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, that
Some
folder.
of those are in there, okay.
Yep.
What's the process now? eBay or just scrap?
it's a type of eBay. The city clerks, or the city controller's office,
Okay,
they put it online,
okay.
and
If it don't go,
Auction.
how long do you leave it online before you pop it?
usually about 2 weeks.
Very good.
We've had pretty good results with it.
Selling them? Great, okay.
They all run, they run and everything?
Some of them do. Some of them are just for parts.
Yeah, people park them out.
Listen, if they can't put them together with glue, they won't, they're gone, so. And I know Dave and the guys down there.
Okay, so we're gonna kill a dead horse. You all good on this?
Yep.
I'm good.
It's an ordinance, so everybody has to be good on
Yeah,
it.
it has to be unanimous, and someone will have to make a motion to introduce this.
I'll make a
Because it was
motion.
not introduced through our current rules.
I'll make a motion.
Well,
to-
you also have to make a motion to waive the Thursday rule, isn't it? It's given after Thursday.
Right, we're gonna make a motion to waive the rules entirely, so we can move these anyhow. You have a
Okay.
question?
Well, I just wanna say, I did submit that legislation about, like, a while ago for the DPW
The
vehicle.
date on it's the second, so.
Oh,
Yeah, we found it in a folder dated the 2nd.
January
Oh, okay, so it must have been submitted during the transition period.
Right, so that's my, that's, yeah, exactly.
So Judge, we need to waive the Thursday rule also on this one?
No,
Alright.
as long as we waive the rules of order
Yeah.
to introduce it.
Oh,
then we're good.
I could pick up, yeah.
If you waive the rules of order, you waive everything, right?
Well,
In other words?
we're gonna, yeah.
You know, I gotta ask you a question.
Right.
Well, so here's the thing, with the Thursday rule, if you look at it, the way it currently sits, whatever we do with it, that's beside the point. The Thursday rule is for things from outside the department. If somebody introduces this on the floor, okay, and it gets introduced by way of motion, and then we bring it to a vote, it's unanimous, it's passed. There is no,
Committee,
yeah, exactly. We just have to waive the rules so that we can bypass the committee system, which is
All
fine.
right. We move on?
All right.
All right, resolution now, this is number 2. Bob, this is in your area.
You wanna wait on this? Did you
You
look
wanna look
about
at
it?
it? You
What
wanna
do?
check into it? You wanna?
It's the first time?
Well, I talked to Maria, and Maria had been working on it, and she said she was gonna call me if there was a problem. She didn't, so I figured it was okay.
Well, this is your area, so if you're blessing it, you know.
I don't have a problem, but I'd like to talk to Maria one more time.
All right, so you wanna just table it for now?
We can table it.
Is this on a rush?
No, it's not in a rush, and I would just suggest that maybe the council wants to just introduce it tonight and then put it back into
That's,
committee.
well, that's what I was gonna say. Bob, if you wanna make a motion to introduce this
Dave, you got any info on this?
on the,
What's that?
On this bridge that's supposed to go across Edward Street?
I do not.
Who's got it?
Gene from engineering worked on this, Gene Santa Croce from
He
engineering.
should have been here.
Yeah.
Well,
That's okay.
so,
We'll get him next time, next
Yeah.
meeting.
yeah, we can ask him to come.
Okay.
Yep, this is, you know, they've expanded down at FX Mat. They have facilities across the street from each other now, and this is just, part of it. We have, obviously, we maintain the street. Right, street situations are weird. Sometimes we own the street bed, sometimes we don't. We have a right of way in the street.
What is the rest of the street like? Like, is it residents? Is it?
I think FX Mat takes up most of the street.
I'd like to refer this.
And it's also been made.
or you could table it.
I'll refer it.
Table.
All right,
Table.
Table it?
That's what we're doing now. No more, there is no committee.
there's no committee right now.
There are no
Yeah,
committees.
yeah.
So
Okay.
we table them now.
Table.
Until the 20th, we got
And
nothing.
you get to look into it.
Okay.
So make a motion to introduce it, then you'll be the sponsor, then make a
I'll
motion
make
to
a
table.
motion to introduce it.
Okay,
Then-
all right, we move on now?
We'll help
All right.
Next one.
Number 3, resolution authorizing adjustment to the solid waste service charge.
The Armory wants free, no, they don't wanna pay anything, the Armory, so, come on.
Okay?
Okay,
I don't know.
No, they're paying a private hauler, so we adjust it.
yes, yes, yes.
You know.
Does everybody understand this?
No.
What the issue is?
You don't?
Okay. What it is that typically we do the blue bags and we pay them. Well, you could go and get around that if you own a business or you own like a large apartment house or something like that. and pay a private contractor to come in and haul away your goods. So that way, if you do that, then you don't have to pay the hauler fees.
But you have to, but those places, those businesses would have to come to us and ask to have it waived.
Exactly.
They say, we have a dumpster, we don't buy blue bags.
Provide
You got it.
documentation that they do.
Okay,
And
right.
that's what this is right here?
Yep.
This is the Parkway Armory is doing this?
Yeah, we gotta take care of the
After a certain time, we have to do it, but before that, the United County Waste Authority does it.
Okay.
Okay?
Say that last bit again, Frank.
The United County Waste
Yeah.
Authority does it to begin with,
Okay.
right? They have a guy check out, they
Yeah.
go to your house, they go
They-
to properties.
They say, yep,
Then
there's
after a certain
dumpster.
time, we have to do it.
Okay.
So this is our time. So this is after the February or something.
Oh, after a certain time in the annual cycle.
Yeah.
I got it.
Sometimes
Thank you.
businesses may do it mid-year and then forget to do it, you know, they're paying for the blue bag still or whatever, their
Right.
fees, and they're paying for the hauler.
Right,
We may have to reimburse them at the
Yeah.
end of the year.
okay, excellent, thank
You
you,
know,
thanks.
You're sponsored by Councilman
Who's
Neal
moving it?
and McKinney.
Let's see, what district is it? Parkway?
But it's still right, so it's
We're on the Parkway.
You have, somebody has.
Yeah, someone's gonna, that's what I'm saying, who's
That's me.
introducing?
I'll do it.
All right, y'all
Are we all-
introduce.
are we all moving
Councilman
this?
Neal.
Yeah.
Is there any negative on this?
No.
Any nays?
So we're gonna move it, right?
Okay.
Move it, good, all right. Now, number 4, this is where it's gonna get interesting now for the next 40 minutes.
Right, so, yeah, so
So,
everything we did
before I-
already
before I
is
get
stuff
really
we gotta
interrupted-
do. No, I'm just saying, this stuff we
Before I
gotta
get
do.
rudely interrupted. All right, so, since this deals with the president and ways and rules of order and all kinds of different things, you take the floor for right now, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you. Now, there was discussion of modifying the committee system. There was legislation last year to dissolve the committee system, which has been placed in the caucus packet for potential introduction.
I
After,
didn't.
oh, no, no, no,
Those
that,
things,
yes.
You understand, we're not.
I understand
They're
completely.
by a councilman who
Yeah.
doesn't live here anymore.
Right,
So
right.
there's those, they're not gonna be introduced.
Right,
As
so.
new concept.
Right, so bottom line is this. I chaired the council for 4 years and saw a lot of different discussions. I've seen the rules function in proper ways. I've seen the rules taken advantage of. In this second term, I did have some very, very minor tweaks to the rules that I was gonna propose to the council for introduction. Now, I do have those tonight. As previously discussed, we were gonna get together, hash all that out. We obviously tabled it at the last meeting. So here we are now. Councilman Miola has written a bunch of different pieces and placed those in the caucus packet. What I'd like to do actually is, if you wouldn't mind this, Mark, I have the very small streamlined tweaks that I think would achieve a lot of the goals.
Legislation.
I'm not introducing legislation. What I'd like to do is have the council go through the things that are in the current packet now. And at the end of that discussion, request that the council consider the modifications to our current rules that I was going to propose and hear why I was going to propose those based on my last 4 years of experience. Is that all right?
Okay with me?
All right, so I'd like to basically do that at the end instead of now.
That's fine. Has everybody read this packet already?
Good.
Kinda,
And the judge schooled this, and he's under Second Cities Law, Cooperation with Second Cities Law, General Municipal Law, and our election law. He's got it all documented. He spent a lot of time on this. I'd like to hear whatever options that Mike has,
yeah, I think we should.
so we could, you know,
Mike,
we have this bit to start with as a blueprint.
Yep.
And what we can do is, if Mike has to add something, or he thinks something needs to be, we take his opinion on it, we can go from there.
That's right.
It can also, these legislations are not in order. It goes from standing committees to pre-meeting committee as a whole, public comment period, then jumps back to talk about committees. So if we're gonna talk about the committees, I would like to at least have some sort of sequence that it all kind of committees first, then public comment.
The judge will tell you, it asks the judge the proper procedure, how to remove it and then implement it. He'll go over that with you. I understand
talking about that. I'm just saying, do y'all understand? It goes from committees, then we talk about public comment period, then in the order of the legislation, it goes back to talking about committees. I'm saying if we're gonna talk about committees, standing committees, can we just talk about them as a collective and just change the order to put the,
And then talk about public comment afterwards.
yes, that's all I'm
You
saying.
can talk about these in whichever order you'd like.
I'm glad to
It
explain
doesn't matter what
all
order you
of
want.
it, if you would like,
Yeah,
because I
so,
prepared all this thing.
yeah,
Really, the order is a bit irrelevant because everything comes back to the center. If the first legislation abolishes the committee system. And there seemed to be a total consensus to do that. And because the committee system, for whatever it was worth, as a matter of fact, Councilwoman Testa was the sponsor of the one to abolish committee system.
Why did it get turned down when she did it?
It didn't get
Why
to
do we
town.
want
She did it out of
to slow it down?
spite.
It just went to committee and it just never came out before her term expired. So now, because she's not here, we have to have a new sponsor, and it does the same exact thing, just less verbiage. Then, if you're gonna have a committee of the whole, I had to find a place where you meet the committee of the whole, and that's why I took the council meeting, pre-meeting conference, and I put / committee of the whole, because that's where, like you're doing now, you are the committee of the whole. That's what you are now at the pre-conference. All the people you want to see, you're gonna see now. All the legislation you're gonna discuss. And although you can't take any action on it, it'll be pretty much understood what you're gonna do on the floor about that particular. If legislation doesn't have the votes, you're gonna table it. If you approve the other legislation that says that the, well, I put the public comment can go anywhere. The public comment period, I thought, my objection to the one we had before, it was vague and I thought somewhat unenforceable, and also didn't cover the things that bothered the council at the time about what the speaker said. Now, I left in there that the public comment period, you would talk about things that penny legislation or such other topics, because it seemed to be the general consensus of the council. Let people come and talk whatever they want about. So I left it there. But however, what and how their conduct was never really spelled out. And I think that it's important that we have a piece of legislation, and people are gonna come here, there be some rules and courses of conduct that are in writing. And the people know that. And when they say, do you understand what it means about public comment? Yes, you shall not be allowed to consume the whole period. That in the timekeeper thing, we did that with President Frank. He presides over the comment because he presides over the meeting, and of course he presides over this. No speaker shall use profane language. Now you say, well, that's pretty understood. Really? Well, it says you can. It says that no speaker shall make disparaging remarks about elected officials. That people come here and say some really insulting things, and I don't think that this is a legislative body. And I put that no person shall attempt to engage the president, member of the council in debate. In other words, they talk. They're not supposed to be talking to you and get in debates and get into arguments. That's not what public comment's for, and also the time is limited. No speaker is allowed to make derogatory remarks about anyone's race, religion, or other orientation. We haven't had much of that, but I've heard some of that. But no person shall shout, swear, or make threatening remarks that are addressed to anyone, nor will a person be allowed to engage in hostile conduct.
So do we want to deal with that legislation
We've had people do
first?
that here.
Yeah, we can ask Michael what his amendments
We've
are.
had people do that, and I explained that the President of Common Council, and this never gave any authority to the President of Common Council. I mean, he's the one presiding, and when you say he says something, where does he get the authority to say these things? Well, I put it in writing. The President of Common Council has the authority to discontinue any time allowed to a speaker who violates one or more of the above rules. And when you get out of hand, he's going to tell you. Now, if you won't stop, he's going to cut your time off. He said should a
Wasn't that
person make
already-
threatening remarks or act in a threatening manner, the Common Council requests that person stop
Not
and remove
specifically.
themselves from the podium.
So are we now gonna talk about public comment? I mean, because I thought Delvin's question was, why are we talking about committees and then talking about public comment and then talking about committees again?
No, because she put it in this order,
Yeah,
Okay.
and that
Okay,
was
so can
my
we
goal.
reorder
keep
the
them
discussion?
separate.
Talk about committees
The reason
and
why I was
public
committees,
suggesting,
not
the
committees.
reason why I was suggesting that is because if we talk about abolishing committees, I would like to have us in mind, right? If we're abolishing committees, what in the heck are we replacing it with? And so I wanted to talk
Well, we
about
have-
the
we have
proposal
the
of the
resolution.
coordinator.
That's why.
Judge, I got it, I promise you,
Here it is.
yeah, I can follow
That's
along.
the next piece of legislation.
Right, so I was saying, can we talk about
You
these
want to talk of that? I
together?
thought we were just gonna talk about
Let's-
all.
Whoa, we're getting out of hand now.
Yeah.
Mark is the
Mike.
chair.
Mike had the floor tonight, and we're discussing, he's gonna go over the little things he wants to, bring up to the discussion. And then from that point, and then we go from there. We're not gonna start going back and forth, we're gonna be here till 10 o'clock today. So let's get through it.
On the rules.
Yeah, we're gonna, let him get through it, and then we're just gonna go.
All right, so, well, what I was suggesting is we go through the legislation about the proposed new committee system first, before I discuss the baseline, which was the rules. Now, I basically was leaving it in the hands of the council, but I didn't really have any suggestions other to clarify and solidify public comment period rule.
And the judge did a real good job doing it.
Yeah, so if we could, why don't we hash the public comment part out first? See where we're going with that, then move on to the whole committee discussion, because that's where I have some, I wouldn't call them opposing, but maybe a different way to do it that we can mesh together.
If we're
All
gonna,
right?
so we're gonna talk about.
All right, go ahead, Michael.
So public comment? No,
Yeah, go ahead.
I want, this is you
That's
guys'
fine.
public comment, yeah.
Let's hear it.
So what do we got?
So I'd like to say something then.
Okay.
Mark's the chair,
So-
basically. is my-
So we have the rules that we had last time, and I looked at those very carefully. And I understand the judges, there are various ways in which they need to be tweaked because of the things you mentioned. And I think you're right. I took the liberty of writing up a new version that is essentially the best of the old, that tries to fix those problems that people identified, right? So, and that incorporates a lot of the things that you're concerned about, such as people shouting, swearing, etc. So I'd like people to go ahead.
Wait, before you
Yep.
pass it out, ask the judge to go over it, let him read it privately, and make
Okay.
sure there's nothing illegal about what you wrote.
Okay.
All right?
He wants you to tell me whether there's anything illegal about what I wrote.
And in the interim, why don't we start discussing your, you wanna go for her amendments or your
No, let's-
amendments?
well,
Which
let's-
ones?
I don't have any to public comment. My point is, the only
Okay, so
thing
you're
I
good
was
with public
requesting of the council,
Okay, so you're good
and
with
what I
that.
discussed after the first
And that's
first
why we
meeting
got
we
it
had.
done, Mike.
So-
A and C
Right,
were almost contradictory if you read them.
right, and I
I
agree
think
with
they,
you.
I think
And
what you're
that's-
saying is you had your own take on it as well.
Right.
So for that,
all
you
right,
guys to hash out.
So let me get back to public comment. Okay, so if I'm looking at the one that's before us now, the new one being proposed, and I just see a few problems, such as a group is vague, and in fact, logically, the way that C reads is if a group of 2 people come in and they read our rules, they're gonna say, well, we're 2, and we elect us as our representatives, and now we each get 4 minutes, which is better than the 6 minutes we would have had before. That is 4 plus 4 is 8, 3 plus 3 is 6. A technical reading of this rule allows a group of 2. I think that's really problematic. The other thing that I think is really problematic about groups is who is going to be deciding who constitutes a group, right? So a bunch of individuals come in, they're all concerned with the same thing. Are they a group? Have they decided they're a group? Is Melissa gonna go out there and look at the names as people have signed up and say, okay, which ones of you are a group? And who are the 2 people that we're gonna designate? So I think that whole group thing is very problematic. I get what you're trying to get at, right? Which is that 8 people come in from the same neighborhood with the same problem, they each sign up and they take up a lot of time. But in the end, we're gonna give anybody more than, the whole thing is only gonna be no more than 30 minutes. So I thought that that was really problematic. So, did
Yeah, I've
you
had
have
to cut
any?
people down to, I think, one time it was like
You
have to
41
sometimes
seconds each.
cut it
Well,
down.
she's absolutely right,
Yeah.
because there are some things that are a little bit insoluble. In other words,
Take one of
the
those.
public comment period
Mike, take that.
i- is not a right, it's a privilege. It's not a right because.
We don't have to do it.
Because the state legislature specifically left that out for a specific reason.
Right,
But we won't go into that, and there's case law about that.
right.
But I'm saying to you, this is something that, I agree, that this is a common council situation. The common council members have to decide how they want to run this thing.
Right.
I made it lengthy because I wanted to cover all things, because that's what I discussed
Right.
with other people who were interested in that. I said that you shouldn't assume that anything can be said just because it isn't written.
Right.
Well, I said, I read, is it verbose maybe a little bit, but then sometimes maybe it's a good idea for the president, before the public comment is to read the rule
Right, so,
before they even speak. Now, what the councilwoman is proposing is basically the same thing,
It is.
only in abbreviated form.
right,
You are the members of common council.
so I would just
We
like to.
propose, you dispose.
I would like to thank you. I would like to just very quickly talk about why I wrote it the way I did. So the first is very similar to the first one that was in the ones that we've been using up till now. No speech, I did take a lot of things and kind of condense them. The C is where we get this important stuff that the judge points out is so important. No profane or derogatory language, no shouting, no threatening, and no attempt to engage in debate, which is really important, right? And then the D gives the president the authority to end it, etc. And then E is the same thing as was in it before. It's a little bit condensed. It's actually a little bit longer than the one you've been operating under, but a shorter version. It's sort of a compromise between those two. So I wrote this very carefully, and this is the one that I would like a motion for us to adopt as our public comment rules.
I just have just a few things.
Yep.
How would you like to handle a large group then?
I think we have to suck it up.
Well, sucking it up is one thing, and having Mike Leamy give somebody like 30 seconds is something else. So, according to the way this is defined,
Yep.
you have to understand,
Yep.
if there's a group of 20 or
Right.
30 people,
Right.
it makes it difficult for anybody to come in.
I've been coming to common council for
Now,
every
if-
meeting for 2 years, and that's never happened. I just
Well,
think
it
that
may
that's a
happen.
hypothetical problem
I
that
have
could
had it
happen.
before.
Oh, it's happened before.
It may
It
happen.
is.
So now here's an option. You could define the word group,
Mhm.
6 members or more,
Mhm.
to actually give the judges, basically they're both the same.
Mhm.
You're just like summarizing like the judge said, but the judge gets really specific on it,
Mhm.
okay? When you're specific in legislation, Mike's got the guidelines, he's
Right.
got teeth, and he can accomplish it.
I'd still like to know the actual enforcement of that
So,
group.
hold on, let me, so,
Right, and we can define it.
How do
mind
we
if
do
I
that?
state what I've done prior?
Yes, because we've
Okay,
done this
so
before.
what I've done prior, when large amount of people sign up, rather than trying to associate people with a group or even asking if there's a group, prior to the public comment period, I've calculated how many seconds everybody has. Like one of the times I said, okay, we have 45 seconds. If anyone is here together and you'd like to just send up one representative, take your name off, and then we readjust the time.
So you.
And that has worked prior.
That has worked.
If people are there together, they say, oh, okay, I don't need to go up. And then they go up and they cross their name off and then they recalculate the time and
Is that especially when?
because it's always capped at 30 minutes.
Okay,
Right.
Well, yeah.
can I just throw something in there? So, when you're saying that, because that was my question. So if there's 20 people coming here talking about an issue in North Utica,
Mhm.
okay? And you go to them first, rather to say.
No.
Or you would say.
I
there's
go in
20
order, before I start the public comment period, I would literally ask.
Ask them
And
first.
say, if anyone would like to extend time and scratch their name off so that one person can represent the group, I've just stated that.
Okay,
And typically they hash it out, and then I don't have to figure out who's a group.
but on that same token, if they said no, then you gotta divide 20.
Yeah, we've done
20, you
45
gotta
seconds
divide-
each before. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and that's the way it is.
Right.
So nobody is gonna get shut out of having their
No.
No,
way to
but some
talk.
people have to whittle down what they want to say.
Right, okay, right, and like you say, most of the time, if there's 10 or 15 people speaking on one topic, they would let 1 or 2 represent it, I believe that.
Sometimes they do go up over and over again,
I,
but it's capped at 30 minutes regardless.
Right, I just don't want anybody shut off, I think everybody should have the right to say what they wanna say.
I agree with Frank on this. I think
I do.
You see, that happens in a public hearing.
and the reason why I say
When you
that,
have a- Should be, just a minute. I want to explain the difference between this and a public hearing.
Right.
When you have a public hearing, there are no time limits.
Right,
Like when you have the budget,
right,
you have a public hearing on the budget. That's, a public hearing is a statutory thing.
right.
You can have 100 people there. You might be here all night long, but the public hearing is different. Public comment period is not a right, it's a privilege. Public hearing is a statutory right. So when you come for a public hearing, like on these properties, and there's 10 people there, 15 people,
Okay, listen to
and they
them.
want to speak,
Right.
Right.
public hearing, you don't shut them off.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just putting
Yeah, I just didn't like
put it
to-
in its perspective.
No, I understand that, but I don't want it to be, all of a sudden, there's a major topic, and we have 10 people come, and we say only 4 could speak, is my point. That's what I don't think is right.
Well, that's up to you. You
I
are the
think,
legislature.
I think this takes a lot of gray area out of it. It lists everything.
Right, I
I think
agree.
it takes all the
think
gray area
it's
and it
true.
gives him more validity. He can say, these are the rules, you need to read them.
Right.
You don't follow them, they don't wanna read them. Then, if you see there's something wrong, he puts the mallet down, gives him one shot across the bow, he hits the mallet
I have
again.
a problem with.
4 minutes is a super long time, though. I
Right.
have to say. 4
Also,
minutes is like.
Yeah,
one
we're not
and
giving-
five,
giving
if
them
one
three.
says, no speaker shall use profane language, and 5 says, no person shall shout, swear, or make threatening remarks, it's actually not,
Redundant.
it's redundant,
Yes.
and therefore
You can-
confusing.
We can amend it for
Yeah,
one
You
sentence.
can take
that's
one
fine.
off.
Right.
Take one off, it's fine.
I have a problem with
Your
number
rules, you
2.
do what you want with it.
All right, so here's what we're doing right now.
Number 2.
We have a proposal from Councilwoman, we have a proposal from Councilman Miola. We're talking it out, and we're gonna figure out how to make this work. So,
All
Barb's the
right.
chair,
All right,
so everyone
so,
direct your comments to the chair, please.
so, we wanna go ahead and take off the number 1, profane language, and keep 1 in? Make an amendment to that now?
Sure,
Everybody?
that's no problem, we can combine both.
You wanna combine both? We're all good with that? You
Yeah.
wanna make that amendment on the floor?
No, I'm not good with number 2 either. I don't know what disparaging remarks means. I
All
feel
right,
like that's too vague.
so, all right, so no speaker, number 2, no speaker shall make disparaging remarks about elected officials, calling them names, different names.
I mean, you can list it, you can go through.
Officials such as department heads, members of the corporation council, office members of the city clerk, office under offices.
I
Okay.
I have a
I object to that.
Well, so hold on, let me throw something out there, because I just read that and I thought of something. Rather than saying no speaker shall make disparaging remarks when discussed about elected officials, it could say, when discussing elected officials, department heads, etc., the speaker must discuss city business.
Yeah, that's
And
fine.
now you're taking their privilege, you can't, that's
Yeah.
their
You
constitutional
can't
right
tell
away,
them
you
what to
can't
talk
do that.
about.
Oh,
It's pushing.
well, this is
But no
getting
speaker shall
at
make
their
disparaging
content.
remarks as
What, that's subjective. If you have a president
That's-
that
I'm trying
wants
to-
to
yeah, I'm
stop
trying to
the
make it
speaker,
objective.
what is disparaging? If I say you're a bad council person, right, this president can say that's a disparaging comment,
Right.
therefore you have to get
Right,
off the
and I-
floor.
Crazy
So
vague.
this addresses content as well.
It's crazy vague and subjective, and the idea that somebody can't get up at public comment and say, you know, I called my councilwoman Celeste Friend, and she never calls me back, and I'm tired of it, and I'm here to address that.
It's one thing to
That's disparaging, and
legislate.
you know what, I
That should
decide
be-
It's
that.
one thing to legislate
That's not
decorum.
as
I'm all in
disparaging.
favor of legislating decorum, how a person
That's-
should act.
Well, let me just say
That's,
this.
how do you,
Somebody's a disparaging, he's a bum, he does,
Right,
he's
they're
a
calling you-
jerk, he doesn't know, that's what I consider
The
disparaging.
characteristic slurs.
That's
Right.
profane.
So-
I think that's vague. I don't think that that's,
I think the problem with that is that,
I think
it's-
it's subjected to the president.
I think that, I think Mark just said it, I think it's very subjective, but I think we could give that authority to the
That's
president.
the president.
I think he has
He's
enough, and we, all of us here could,
Give him
know
some
what
teeth, let's work it out, let's try
disparaging
it.
is.
I would, like I said, let's give this a test ride, let's see how it works.
You could
And
change-
if we can always amend this as we're working through it. For
Right.
example, Celeste had a good thought where, what's the size of the group? Excellent thought, let's put a size on it. Now, here's another problem that Mike might run into. How do you know who's speaking for what? 'Cause
Exactly.
when you're sitting there, you're gonna raise your hand, okay, who's speaking about paving today? So,
Well, Mike
how
would
you gonna
probably
know?
do that before they even
Well,
start
no, you don't
talking.
wanna do that, because that's,
How are you gonna know? The problem is
can't
that
know.
how are you
Yeah.
going to know how many speakers are for one topic? How are you gonna go out there? How are you gonna give him guidelines?
That's why I don't think it should, that's why I don't think that should really come into play. I think they should have the right to say what they want to say.
So you wanna divide it, just
Well,
divide it
if
whatever's
there's-
there.
I mean, I've been here for 2 years. If you had
Okay.
5 people, if you had, I mean, you've been here a lot
it's
longer.
less than a handful of times I've had a problem.
Right, and
It's
I
okay
think
when
if
we
you
do.
had 4 or
It's never a
5,
problem.
I mean, I've never seen anybody more than 5 or 6 speak. I mean, we might tonight now, but I'm just saying, I just
Okay.
think,
So we could take the group out and use Celeste's 8. That's fine with us, that's fine with me.
yeah, I mean, if you combine a couple.
I'd like to go back to mine and see what is there not in mine, since mine is considerably shorter.
That's
What is
what I don't-
not in mine from the judges that we need to work into mine? Mine is shorter to begin with, makes more sense to edit into that than to try to edit something that is so much longer.
Well, it's gonna end
I
up,
just think his is more detailed. I think you have some very, very, very good points. I think if you merge them together, we got one happy family, but I think.
Well, I think that that's what I
all the,
did.
I think all the extra stuff that he has down there are more tools for Mike to use,
Right.
is what I'm saying.
So we could switch
You know,
A's,
I
that's
mean, I think
fine.
you can merge them together and let it go. I mean, I
Number
think we're
four is-
overthinking this whole
Number
thing.
4 reads, no speaker is allowed to make derogatory comments about anyone's race, religion, or orientation, or other orientation. Race, religion, or other orientation. That's a very odd phrase to me. Race and religion are not orientations. There's only one orientation I know about. We're not talking about ethnicity, nation of origin.
So you wanna change
language.
it to from other to sexual? Is that-
No, I want you to know. I want you to.
I'm trying to get. I'm trying to
All of it
exit
is
that
covered in
intention.
derogatory language. Derogatory language gets you all of that. You can't come up here and say homophobic slurs, you can't say racist things, you can't say anti-Semitic things, it's all covered by derogatory.
You
I
could
don't have
just
a
take,
problem
you could
keeping
take
Well, you
one,
gotta remember something, what's the average
add
layperson,
things
all
to
right?
it.
I think
You
you're
The
gotta look at
average
the
layperson reading this is
Well-
gonna have a much harder time reading this than reading
I'm
this.
talking the average layperson that comes up, that we get some people that, you know, you never know. And if they see that, okay, don't say nothing about race, religion, because that's how they see it, and they'll read it that way. I understand what you're saying, because you're reading as a very highly educated woman. We see that,
Right,
all right?
right.
But the average person that comes up, sometimes they don't see it, they need to have it
Well,
outlined.
Then how about
Just keep it
unseen?
track.
Right, I think, I see your
Can I
point.
tell you something? In the family court orders that I write daily, there is a phrase in every order, parties may not use disparaging remarks in the presence of the child,
Disparaging.
nor allow their person to do that. So what does disparaging remarks do? Disparaging remarks is like the Supreme Court Justice said, I know it when I see it. Now, what is other orientation? There are other orientations in this country now are multitudinal. So what we're saying to the layperson, we don't want you straying from anything other than what you're here to talk about. We're not trying to talk about the sexual orientation, you should be talking about a person's relationship. All of that's irrelevant. You know, you don't say things about the Indians and all that sort of thing, and what their contribution. Those, if you don't know what a disparaging remark is, then I took the position, he will know what a disparaging remark is, because if it doesn't pique his conscience, or then maybe it isn't. But he is the arbiter. That's why we have him running the meeting. And I'm trying to give him as much authority and the people who read this, I want their minds to start clinking. You just don't come up there and say whatever comes out of your mouth, because there are rules, and maybe it is redundant, and I agree with the councilwoman. But sometimes you have to be redundant. If you read statutes, sometimes they want Robert and everything.
In other words, read twice,
Why?
sink in.
Because they want to take every possibility. But again, you are the council people.
Mark, can I ask a question?
All these are outlines. You do whatever you wish
Well,
to do.
6:48.
And I don't take a
No,
position
we're
on
gonna
any
keep
of it.
going on this, don't worry about it.
All right, so the profane, we're gonna take out number one, is that what we're doing?
Well, so, Mark, can I ask a question? It says derogatory right now, but the judge used a much more accurate word just now. Disparaging,
Disparaging, yeah.
which is also used
I
in
use
legal
disparaging.
documents.
I use disparaging.
So,
Disparaging isn't it?
if the
Yeah, disparaging, I
council,
use, yeah.
if the council would think about wherever it says derogatory,
With disparaging?
replace it with disparaging.
Or how about adding
I think-
profane, comma, derogatory, comma, or disparaging?
Well, that's up to you
Disparaging
guys, but that's my
number
point,
two.
is disparaging is a much
Disparaging
more
does say
accurate
number two.
word that's enforceable.
But I use it for elected officials.
Okay.
All right, so what I got is, we're gonna take Celeste A, put it into this A over here.
Yep.
And then we're gonna change this, everything that says derogatory, we're gonna add
Circle
disparaging.
for each one.
Sounds good.
Across.
Does everybody agree with that? We can move
Who's
this
gonna
on?
make that motion? You
I'll
gonna
make that motion.
You're gonna make that motion on the floor?
I'll make that
Yep.
motion on the floor.
I'll make
Michael, you
motion
got
for
that?
that.
Nice job. Good
Hey,
job.
guys.
That was a good job, how we worked that out. Good job.
All right.
So, man, you're missing anything with your legislation.
In here, you'll just need this after the fact, so you can put it together.
That was
council legislation. And then, Mark, we just gotta figure out what we're doing the rest. Make
Okay.
sure we know what amendments we're doing on the rest.
All right, so the amendment we're gonna do, hey, Jack, can you let them know, cause she's.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take Celeste's A and move it to,
The judge's
the,
A.
McNeil, Williamson, Miola A, okay? And then everywhere where it says, the derogatory, we're gonna add disparaging as well,
Okay,
all right? Slash disparaging,
got that motion?
Thank you, Jack.
all right, let's move on.
So now we,
Who's moving this on the floor? Neola. Okay, he's introducing. That's all I need.
everybody's good
I'll help
on
you with
this?
it. Yep. I'll move
Everybody's
it.
okay?
Great job.
Everyone
Celeste,
okay?
thank you very much for pointing that out. Thank you very much.
All right,
Are we
what's
okay?
next one?
Everybody's okay? So
Yep.
no surpri- okay.
What is okay? What do you, when people
No
say
surprise
everything
if
is
they don't wanna
okay,
get
what does that
Is there any
mean?
more discussion? We're not
More
voting on
discussion.
anything, this
Right,
is caucus, right?
Okay.
So this is, are we moving on to the
When
next?
will we vote on this, on the floor?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm for it.
If it's introduced, but we know it's gonna be introduced.
Here's the resolution, it just takes.
All right,
Okay.
okay.
Next order of business, sir.
All right, what's
What do we got? What do we
All
got?
right, relax
The
there,
next
Jethro.
one's the coordinated.
All right, let's get back here.
This is what Delvin was talking about. He wants to talk about these next pieces in a group.
Okay, now you want, let's go to rules of order, we got that? No, we didn't.
Resolution number 7?
Number 5
Rules of order.
and 6. We got 6, we got
We
6.
didn't
5
do-
and 7.
It's really 4 or 5.
5 is very short, I only.
Seven.
All right, can we all look at number 5, please?
Okay, let's go.
Right here.
Ah.
It'll stay on the page.
Amending Section 3, rules of order.
Did
Okay.
this legislation ever go up to the to the corporation counsel's office?
Not me.
Did it go up to corp counsel? Did Charlie look at it?
The bylaws?
No,
The
they don't
public
look at
comment,
it.
the public comment.
The stuff that comes from us, comes from us. I never, that is something, resolutions that are within the rules of this body, I don't discuss with anyone else, because the statute's specific. The rules of order of the body and how it runs its meetings and all that is strictly a councilman thing.
Gotcha.
And there's, in fact, even he can't vote in a tie,
Right.
but statutorily, because the case law says so.
Mm-hmm.
But, and that's why I don't discuss it with them.
No, that's
That's part of what is my job.
We're gonna have to
Like, I
back
don't-
this up.
When you send down your ordinances, they don't,
Oh, yeah.
the only things that aren't be controversial, they discuss with me.
All right, let's move on, come on.
Thank you,
Let's
Doug.
go.
Number 5, we only got a few more
Number
minutes, guys.
7,
All
we're
right.
on 7?
We can start late.
All right,
That's fine.
I'm
As long as
sorry,
we don't start
let's go to
before
number 8, because we're talking about
7.
committee of the whole, let's go to number 8, we gotta go to number 8, before we go to the other ones.
Okay.
Number 8,
On number 8?
resolution adopts a new section entitled the committee of the whole,
Oh, okay.
all right, before we get into the other ones.
Yeah, you're right, that should be discussed.
All right, this should be first. Michael, you got the floor.
Right, so here's what I was asking. If the council member and members who are putting this forth can describe how the quote, new committee system as proposed would function first.
It's not a committee system.
Well,
Don't use that word
All right,
because it isn't.
regardless of,
But it is
explain
also-
how
but
this
it's
is gonna
not,
function
because we
while
have
the
to-
council is introducing legislation, because in the same vein, I had, multiple times, proposed changes to the current committee system that I believe would take the current rules as we laid them on the table, potentially modify those and achieve the same results without getting rid of the quote committees, et cetera. Now, I'm not saying we have to do that, but my point is, can we discuss this legislation, how it would function for the council as a whole? Because multiple pieces are gonna play into this. 8, 9, they're all linked. So can the person who proposed these describe how this is gonna function?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that way, when I describe potentially how, what I've gone through with the current rules, because they've been, I think, too restrictive and needed to be changed a little, but I had different changes. I'd like to propose those as well to the council. So,
You got those papers?
what is,
You got a protest.
all right, that's fine, all right.
All right.
As you were saying, yeah.
Basically,
Okay.
basically, the committee of the whole is just a
Is that
simple,
considered a group?
that's a big committee.
There you go.
They get 4 minutes each.
Committee of the whole is a simple solution, is a simple solution for the common council to hear the point of view from department heads as a whole. In the past, we had a piece of legislation, the one you had in front of you with the cart, with scrapping the vehicles, okay? It would have to go to committee, 3 or 4 people would attend the committee. There would be another meeting prior to this, is usually prior to this. You discuss it, and if it comes out of committee, fine, there's the votes. That's what they decide on. But in the essence, we all have to decide on the same issue to get rid of these vehicles. So if Joe has a question that wasn't asked in committee, it's right there. It's all of us. We all have to vote on this. We all have to qualify our votes on it. Instead of having a committee of 4 or 3, because how many times?
Sometimes 2.
Sometimes
They
even
don't have a
2.
committee.
And sometimes you don't even show up, okay? It gives all of us the opportunity to go through all the questions that we may have on an issue. If the controller's there, same thing we did with the budget, the loan the other day. Everybody had the opportunity to ask questions together. Now, when you ask questions, because we don't have a large group like the county, they got 29, when you got a small group like this, what's nice about it is that your question may give Jack another question, an idea. The more,
Early nine.
yeah, it does all the time.
Please don't move that
So-
quick, man.
To me, it's just an easier system. Now, for example, we got a piece of legislation, let's just do one, for example. One council member has to sponsor it. Has to have one council member on it. It can't just be a blank piece of legislation with nobody sponsoring it. Doesn't go anywhere. It's dead. It stays in our office. Dublin wants to sponsor a piece of legislation for parking, okay? It goes, unless it's unanimous right from the get-go, which you guys can do, all right? It goes into committee. He names all the committee heads. For example, finance, economic development, codes.
Well, that's how it's stated now, but that might not also be what I'm gonna.
That's what's in my proposal. You're still
Current-
naming
current
them.
rules,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're still naming them, okay? And the committee as a whole. So now, say that say that Frankie's doing public safety, okay? It gives Maria the opportunity to just breathe. Frankie's running the public safety meeting. He gets any individual that needs the information to the table. For example, if we're talking about fire, okay? We need apparatus, we need cost study on it, we need the budget director, okay? If you want to buy an apparatus, okay? Frankie will bring in all three people to answer any questions the table will have. After that's done, it comes out of committee. You guys say, okay, I'm good with it, goes right to the table. You vote on it.
So what you're saying is, we could have 3 or 4 different issues done in 1 hour, everybody here, so the next group will come in and make something to do with parks. So Dave Short would come up,
Right.
ask his question about parks,
You'll have
get
more.
your answers.
Right, you have more department heads sitting here than you'll ever have in your lifetime, because if they want their legislation passed, they better get here.
Okay, so when I come up with some legislation that I want done, does it go through the president?
No.
The president, who puts in the different committees, yes, he puts in the committee.
Yeah, but where do I send?
Well, there are different
No,
committees
he
that you're
doesn't-
proposing it.
No, you got that wrong, Frank. The committee of the whole was the rule forever. Then they went to this committee system.
We still have a committee of the whole, by the way.
No,
We've
Right,
used
I
yeah,
was
it.
but
just
no,
gonna say that.
let me just say,
Yeah.
I was a councilman. so
Yeah,
I
I'm
looked
aware,
at it.
yeah.
Committee of the whole was the rule, that everything always went to the council.
This is how they used to
It
do
never
before.
was shortcutted to anyone. You got it immediately, you got it in the mail, you got it. And the committee of the whole in those days met on the off week, on a Monday. In other words, the off Monday, the committee of the whole met on Monday before the meeting, on an off week. The committee of the whole was a separate group, they all got together, and we discussed all the legislation, and we had time and memorial. Problem with the committee system, what happened there is that the legislation goes through the circuitous route and sometimes ever gets to the table for 5 or 6 weeks. Because if the committee never meets, the rules are, it stays there, and then we don't have meetings and everything else. This way, all legislation comes to you immediately, you read it, and then you discuss it.
Can I ask?
That's it.
Can I ask a couple questions? Isn't it?
I thought you can just pull it out of committee with 5 votes.
A majority of 5 members can pull anything out of committee. So why it would get stuck for 5, you said for 5 or 6 weeks, why it would get stuck at all? If 5 members want to pull it out of committee, 5 members can pull it out of committee. Why would things
Right.
get stuck in
Well,
This is
committee?
the discussion part, it's got nothing to do with pulling the
Right.
system out. It's nothing to do with the system, you're talking about discussion. I'm talking about making sure every council member has their question answered at an easy time. It's crazy having 4 people or 3 people or 2 people.
Well, but a moment ago, the
Might be
argument
5.
was, and I was
That's something.
I gotta
responding.
remember, that's,
I was responding to the judge's claim that things get stuck in committee and they get
Okay,
stuck there
sorry.
and they languish
There's a
there.
different way.
And my point was,
Well,
no,
if
if
the
5
com-
members can pull it out of
It's 2
committee.
separate issues.
Yeah,
It's 2
different.
separate issues. The issues don't lie. So the premise is, okay, we're meeting as a committee as the whole because it's hard to get quorum, it's hard to get everybody together. I actually support that narrative. Other cities meet like that. But then to say, because we need to get a quorum or meet as a committee as a whole, we have to do away with the whole committee system. You can't find me one city that operates like that.
Not a
Not
single city else
one
did,
municipality in the country that says, because we meet as a committee as a whole, we're gonna get rid of all committees. Even in 1992, even when you all were on the council, you had a committee as a whole meeting, but you still had chairs appointed to committees. I read the old law. That's why we got the books there. So, to suggest that, okay, that's why I support the committee of a whole, legislation 8, but this isn't a means to an end. You can still have 8 and still have a committee system. That way you don't have a jack of all trades, master of none, no disrespect.
8 exists regardless. We have a committee of the whole. Let me just put
No,
this out there.
no, I
Last
get
year,
that.
we put
Right.
legislation to committee of the whole, multiple different times. We had committee of the whole meetings.
Right.
It exists
And it works great.
already.
I support the committee
Right.
of the whole. The issue is, though, the logic to say, because we want to meet at a set time, maybe delegated time from 5 to 7 or whatever, 5 to 5:30 is code, 5:30 to whatever, because we want to meet as a committee whole, we then want to take away committees in general, and then provide coordinators or other things that I think would make the process more difficult, more nuanced, not simple,
transparent.
less transparent than what we have right now. So Frank, I support the committee. Well, I think that's smart. I think this is a part-time job. We all work full-time or whatever, or however that goes. It's time consuming to try to get quorum. I get all of that. I support that as a person who's going to school. But we keep the committee system because, in my mind, you have people who will be specialized in these areas. They'll be able to have conversations, you'll be able to work on legislation. You don't get legislation written at a committee meeting anyway, but if you got people that are committed to a topic, they can follow legislation, they can follow the logic, they can begin to work on that. You have a point person, a key person, and get things done. Under the new system,
So,
you don't have that.
Can I ask a
That's what the
practical
board
question
did.
about the new system? I'm sorry to interrupt.
yeah, absolutely.
When is this committee of the whole gonna meet? And the reason I ask is
It can meet
because-
at any time. In other words, they
Right.
can schedule it. So for example,
It's in
Frank,
legislation.
right, Frank needs to schedule something
This
for-
is the committee of the whole.
Right, Frank needs to schedule something for a hearing for the, we'll say the police department budget.
Right.
Okay? Calls up Melissa, I'm scheduling, police department, I've gotta hear the budget, I need their budget director, I need this one, I
Right.
need this one in here. That's it. It could be 5 o'clock, it could now, if
5
there's,
o'clock on what day?
the day before the meeting.
Yeah, but this is what I think is difficult. If it's hard to get 3, 4, 5 people to find a mutual time that they can meet, finding all of us who can also find a mutual time that we can meet other than the first and third Wednesdays?
Well, no, it's the Wednesday, like prior to the council meeting, so everybody usually coming to the council meeting, we're just here a little earlier.
At 5
That's not
o'clock?
necessarily true.
I won't ever be
I'm
able to
rarely
be
at
here.
work.
I can't ever be here at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday.
Okay, well, then your committee meeting is gonna have to be run a different time, but I can't, just because,
Right, but you
I
can't
can't
have a-
tell all these other guys.
Right, but
what-
you're establishing a system of a committee of the whole in which one of your
If you wanna
members.
start your meetings at 5:30, it's okay. If you can start at 5:45, it's okay. But whatever time is congenial for to get the people in there, that'll be your hurdle to
So
jump.
that's basically,
So that's a
that's
committee.
basically what
That's a
we're
committee
doing right now.
Absolutely.
It's a committee
So
system.
why are we changing it then?
Well,
why don't we
just make it the whole?
It's redundant.
All right, so, all
Let me
right.
just say one thing.
Let it go for a little
The
bit.
committee
No,
system
no,
was
I got it.
not
Exactly.
the committee system was
40
not
minutes away from
transparent. Just a minute, Mr. Branco. Committee system was not transparent, because the committee system by rule of the statutes doesn't have to be published. It's not required for any publication of all.
Yeah, it
You
does.
don't-
It
you
says it
don't-
in our rules of order now.
No, I'm saying to you, you do not have to publish a committee meeting.
No, we do. Our rules of order now, the ones we've been operating under for 4 years, state that we do.
What this is, when legislation comes in, this is designed that doesn't go through anybody. You get the legislation immediately and you discuss it as a whole at the pre-caucus.
We support that. What we don't support
Well, we do
is
that
taking away
already. When
committees.
something goes to
Now,
committee, it
what
goes to all the
what
council
you're
members.
having
It doesn't go just
problem
to the
with-
committee.
Just a second, Mr. President.
I know,
You're
that's
really injecting yourself as a council meeting. You're not your role here.
Well, likewise with you,
I
Judge. We're both
understand
in
that,
the same
but just a
position.
minute. What you're having trouble with, I think, and I could see it, is you're having trouble with the coordinator system. That bothers you.
It does.
And I have to admit to you that idea came because council members feel that they would like to be personally involved in certain areas, and they would like to do that and take it upon themselves to investigate and report to everybody. But you're
That's why
gonna
we
find
keep the
out,
committee, right?
but what you're gonna find out, when you get to the budget, which is pretty soon,
Right.
you're gonna be meeting as a committee whole, because it's really,
Yes, sir.
it is ludicrous.
we do that
For
already.
you to look at this budget separately.
There's nothing in our current.
You can't.
Okay,
There's
so
nothing in our
if-
current,
if we
in
go
our current
based on the,
rules which.
if we go based on the legislation, I don't have any issue with the number 8, to be honest. I like the committee of a whole meeting aspect. When we look at number 5, we start legislating a meeting time. I think we should take out C of this legislation to say the common council in the past scheduled a meeting, me as a whole at a place other than City Hall, and meet on Saturday.
What piece are you looking at? Number what?
5,
Number 5.
proposed legislation 5, Article C or Section C rather.
Yep.
Number 5.
I don't think that language, that we should legislate that, to say recreation center located in Memorial Parkway, meeting on Saturday. If you're talking about quorum, you're never gonna get a quorum on a Saturday.
I can't meet on Saturdays, I know that, I work 60 hours a
In
week,
terms
plus
of,
I got another.
in terms of the coordinator, here's the issue. Now, if you look at this.
Wait, you gotta go to, great, let's resolve
Alright.
number 5 first,
Oh,
before you go any
okay.
further.
Okay.
That's a great idea, I like it, I
You
really
lost me,
do.
which one's number
He's
5?
at number 5, what's number 5? Number 5?
All right.
Number 5, let's finish, I don't wanna take your charge, I'm sorry. I apologize.
All right, listen, this is gonna be going on for a long time, all right? I think we need to have another meeting just on this. I really do. We're gonna be here forever, all right?
Okay, but
And you got
let's,
people in the audience.
let's adopt the whole part,
Should I-
let's do that, cause everybody's for that, and then we'll start amending the other parts a little.
Frank, I think it all connects. I really
You
do.
wanna wait?
Listen,
Table
here,
it.
here's what I'm telling you, we
Can
said,
I put this out there then? Rick?
basically,
Before that?
and I'm new here, and please forgive
For
me,
next Tuesday.
but I've been sitting here for a half hour now, listening to the same thing, and basically, the committee of a whole and the committee system is the same thing. It seems to me that, I don't understand what the reason why we're trying to change anything.
No, it's two
Because-
separate, it's
Two
two
separate
separate.
things.
Okay,
All
but
right. But that's what I'm saying.
But it's
Let's-
not the way it's written.
All right.
It's not.
That's his
It's not,
point.
it's not the same thing.
In time of, we got time issues now, all right?
Okay.
And we have a lot of questions, a lot of people got a lot of questions. This is the time to ask during this week between now and next Tuesday. If you can schedule a meeting or
Yeah.
whatever we can do,
I agree.
all right? On the
Alright,
off
I'll
week.
schedule a committee
That's
of
a
the
good
whole.
idea.
So,
Next
can I put
Tuesday.
this,
This
can
is
I
too
have
big
the
a
floor
subject
now?
to do in one
As
night.
we discussed?
You got 1 minute,
You
but,
got that
Oh,
one?
it's my meeting. I'm the one,
well, it's my meeting right
no,
now.
but I'm saying the one we're delaying, I'm okay with it going on.
I know, but we're not okay.
Alright, so,
So we are voting on 6, right?
No, we're not voting on anything right now.
I don't know why you don't want to.
So-
6 is good.
so here's,
But, you mean the rules of
The-
order?
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah, that's fine.
you mean the public
Public
comment?
comment.
The public comment?
Yes.
We already said that.
You can vote on 6, and
So-
actually you can vote on
Meeting of the
committee of the whole, number 8.
Well, so,
I don't think we should vote on any of them at all until we get everything together. I think they're tied in.
alright, so when,
I agree, but table it, and let's discuss it further.
Yeah, I think we should just discuss it.
alright, so when this all started, I can do this in a nutshell.
Alright, so 6 we're gonna pull in there, everything else we're gonna.
Yeah.
Please make.
Alright, let's do it.
Rules of order.
That much going on.
That's good.
All right.
Who would like to, call,
Okay.
we're gonna call, we'll have Maria call a committee of the whole.
Packet.
All right.
Hold on.
She's gonna be back on,
We got a whole
Sunday.
package still.
All right, listen,
she's gonna
Michael,
back-
hurry up.
Alright, here's the thing. When we all started talking about rules of order, change the committee system, et cetera, all of this stuff, it was discussed. One, I did want to propose some changes along the past 4 years. I've seen some things work, I've seen some things not work. This is the current rules of order that we tabled, marked up with some minor tweaks.
Alright, but we're gonna discuss this at the next meeting, right?
We are.
At the
Give me a
meeting.
copy. He's
All
gonna
right,
give me a
I'm
copy.
gonna
Just
hand out
gonna have
copies.
to read
Yeah, I
it.
would like.
I would like, now,
I'm
here's
not
what I would
bothered.
like to do at that meeting, okay? I would like to present this, not in opposition, but this is what I was gonna propose in the first place, to address the issues we have, so that we can retain the committee system. We won't be doing anything that isn't in accordance with 2227 in the charter, okay, where we can designate committees regardless of what these rules of order say. And I would like people to think this over. Now, at the meeting we have, I would like to go through. I can give very specific examples of when the current rules cause things to be held up. I can give very specific examples where the current rules caused people to not understand things properly, while the administration maybe wanted to get something through the council too fast. That's a lot of the complaints. I streamlined the current rules, kept the committee system, and made very small tweaks so that it makes sense. Now, what you see, if you pass it out, I did it
Yeah,
in
take a look
Word.
at it, Mike, please, we
Yeah.
have to. just
No, this is
keep
the
on
key,
going. We'll
and
keep
everything
looking
else.
at it.
I know.
Mark's gonna keep
The
on going.
meeting I have to kick off at 7
Yeah,
later,
I-
believe me, I'm aware.
We will,
Pass it
we
around.
won't make any decisions without going through this.
All right, okay, you ready? We got,
Pass it around.
We'll get it.
all right, this is not gonna be quick, all
I
right?
need another, I need
All
another.
right, focus, everybody, focus.
What number are you on?
All right, so we're done with number 3, remove that.
Number 9.
Okay, now we're on number 4. Staying committee, we're gonna table that to next week, right?
Yep.
Well, what- are you in this packet that isn't introduced yet?
Yeah, we still gotta get to the back. We got zoo stuff here too.
Yeah.
All right? All right, so number 4, we're gonna table
Yep.
for right now.
Yep.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
5 tables, 6.
All right, 5 is tabled.
Yep.
6,
6,
no, 6 we're moving.
All right.
6 we're moving. And then who's gonna bring that up? Jack?
I gotta do the amendment.
I'll make the amendments, he's gonna
Okay.
make the, he's
All
gonna
right,
make
you
the
got
bring it
that,
up.
Missy? Or no, sir?
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, so number 6, we got that.
Bring it up.
All right, now we're gonna go to number 7, resolution, no, that's gonna be tabled. All right, number 8, that's gonna be tabled. Number 9, that's gonna be tabled. Number 10, resolution approving the granting an easement for gas service. This was already taken care of, we had big meetings on this,
Yes.
and the tree, that's fine.
You
Everybody
guys
good?
wanna table number 9? That's just,
It's all part
it's all part, it's normal.
It's all part of the rules of order.
Yeah, that's normal. 9 is good. We can support
No, what
that.
I'm getting at is we should adopt the rules of order as a whole,
You
like
got a sponsor for
every
number
council.
10?
So we're gonna go with number, we're backing up to number 9?
9's simple. It's transfers, bonds, it's normal stuff. It's not out of the
Okay,
normal.
except for, okay, we're good?
Yep,
10 needs a sponsor.
I will.
Number 10, I put my name on the sponsor.
Listen,
Or could I be a co-sponsor?
Hold
since
on.
it's in my ward?
Yeah,
current rules of order,
About the zoo?
the way they read,
You can put them all, put us all
for the
on.
ensuing 2 years,
Hey, make it a full council.
Number 10.
Number 10.
9's a full council too, right?
Number 9 is full council, yeah.
Okay.
part of that, part of that.
Let's go.
It's gonna be the same problem with the trees and everything.
We already took care of it.
Yeah.
No, this is gas service, not electric. This is a new one. You should be putting that to committee of the whole, figuring out what's going on with it.
Number 10?
Corporation Council. This came from Corporation Council, so do you have any read on it?
Which one is it?
Number
Is
10.
that supposed to be electric or gas?
This is a new one.
This is gas.
not the one we already did.
Yes, this is gas.
This
This is
is-
a different one.
Oh,
This is a new
Put
one.
this in
Remember
committee
the
of the
one that
whole.
I sent you an email about?
So we're gonna table
I
it.
sent you an email about it.
Table, we don't have to
Chief.
vote.
Remember that? The email I sent you?
yes. Yes, I remember. I gotta have a committee on it. I gotta talk to you.
No, no problem. No
All right?
problem. Yeah.
There's no rush on this, you did tell me that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so I'm gonna table this.
Number 11 is
10.
tabled.
Thanks for that, thanks, Mike.
All
No
right.
problem.
Number 11. Number 11.
11, I don't have an 11.
11, I have it.
I don't
All
have
right.
11. I
It's
only
after the
got
memo.
12.
After the
It's
memo, okay.
after the memo.
Is that the Mary Shelley
Oh,
grant one?
Yes,
Yeah.
Mayor Shelley.
Okay, if you want me to explain that to you, I would be happy to.
What's this?
That-
Okay, okay, go ahead.
Mary Shelley grant, this one is for the pedestrian safety action plan. So basically, it is funded 100% with federal funds, and this particular one is to improve sidewalks, crosswalks, traffic signals, and signage for pedestrians and spots identified by the city.
And we're not on the hook for any of that financially?
So what happens is we pay and then we get reimbursed, but it is 100% reimbursement. Yep. So this grant, this resolution will get us to the point where we can sign a grant contract with the Department of Transportation, who's administering these federal funds. What's going to happen is that there'll have to be a budget process, maybe a budget amendment, so that we can appropriate the $570,000 to spend initially, and then it will all get reimbursed by the federal government. So if you would like to pass this tonight, engineering would be real happy.
About a 5-minute break and then
I'm
we're
good for
going.
that.
Should break it up.
I'm okay with that.
Are we good with the resolution?
Yes, sir.
We're good.
So we're all good on that.
Okay, and we're good. Make a motion to adjourn.
First, second.
Michael, council, 10-minute break, 5-minute break,
Let's start the council meeting at 7:30.
7:30.
Okay.
Okay.
Still good.
attending. This meeting will come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
McNeil, Burmaster, Friend, Miola, Moody, Beatrice, Williamson, Lemetico, DeBrango, Galimi, 9 present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for the deceased members of the council. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we begin, I'd like to just welcome all the new members. This is our first regularly scheduled meeting of this session. So thank you all in the audience for attending, and we will begin the meeting. First order of business this evening is public hearing. We don't have anyone signed up to speak at the public hearing, but the following properties are 512 Mary Street, 216 Bleecker Street, and 1310 Seymour Avenue. Bear with us, the clerk and I will be driving the meeting in the current absence of a deputy. Do we have a motion to remove ordinance 3, which is the sale of property at 512 Mary Street, from committee? We have a motion from Williamson. Do we have a second? We have a second from Lemetico. Any opposed? Ordinance 3, the sale of property at 512 Mary Street to Ibrahim Shaneen in the amount of $37,000 is ready for a vote. Your votes, please. Eight is adopted.
9 is adopted.
8 is adopted. We got 8. All right, thank you. Ordinance 5, is there a motion to pull ordinance 5 from committee? We have a motion from Williamson, second from DeBrango. Any opposed? Ordinance 5 is the sale of property at 216 Bleecker Street to Isabel Bliss and the Microseal Company in the amount of $47,000 by the Urban Renewal Agency. Your votes.
Eight yeas adopted.
All right, ordinance 7 is the sale of property at 1310 Seymour Ave. Is there a motion to pull from committee? We have a motion from Moody, second from Beatrice. All right, thank you. Any opposed? Any opposed to pulling that from committee? All right, ordinance 7 is the sale of property at 1310 Seymour Avenue to Venari May in the amount of $250 by the Urban Renewal Agency. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
Thank you. Next order of business this evening is public comment period. We have 11 people signed up this evening, so the time will be just under 3 minutes apiece. The first person signed up to speak is Diane Berry. If you could please come forward. A copy of the current rules are on the podium. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
Please state your name, and you'll have, 3 minutes.
My name is Diane Berry. I live in Utica, New York. I just want to let the clerk know I do have a written copy that I will provide to you afterwards. I want to preamble my comments by saying this is based on the rumor that I heard that you were going to do away with public comment. So take that into consideration as I read my comments. I work in public service in a local public library. It's part of our job to listen to people who have comments, input, and yes, even complaints about our service. As elected Common Council members, you are in public service also, and that is part of your job. It's not too much to ask and expect you to listen for half an hour or so once a month to citizens who feel that what they have to say is important enough to attend your meeting. It is also encourages public engagement in government, which I consider desirable. Yes, you will, as I do, find yourself listening to what you may consider unreasonable requests and or complaints, and which may not be within your ability or charge to do anything about. I encourage the practice because listening of itself is a valuable service. And yes, you will get some who may be threatening or dangerous. There is a remedy, which we use in libraries and also Walmart uses, which is to bar them from the premises. There is no need to discontinue public comment to address these issues. So I urge the council and each council member to support the public comment period and commit to listening to the citizens of Utica. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you. Helen Rose, if you could please come forward. Thank you. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
I am. Speed read, yes.
All right, thank you. Please, you'll have to hold the microphone. We're not sure where the stand went, but.
Thank you. My name is Helen Rose, and I'm currently a resident of New Hartford, a renter in New Hartford, and considering property in the city of Utica. So I come with a keen interest on how Utica government operates. I, too, had heard rumors and had read in the paper that there had been consideration of disallowing a public comment period. And as a former Herkimer County legislator, I served there for 8 years. I know the efforts that were made sometimes to stifle the comments, especially the criticisms, when citizens would come before us and speak about things that were bothering them. I appreciate that the resolution that you're considering tonight is indeed going to continue to allow public comment with appropriate manners and protocol in terms of our conduct. I would suggest, as I read it quickly, I grabbed one pack of papers and I didn't see it, and I found it later in the packet, that perhaps there could be an issue that would come before you, and as you're adopting this resolution, you consider the ability to extend the time with unanimous consent, perhaps, of the board, because there might be hot issues that where a larger group might want to speak to you. That would be an offer of a suggestion. Obviously, the reasons for having public comment are varied. For sure, you're going to have people that are going to come in here and have anger, hopefully contained, that they have strong opinions that may be diverse to yours. But what do you get out of it? You get to hear what the people have to say. All of you get to hear what the one person may have to say as opposed to talking individually. Sometimes that can be more edifying if you have that. I also think that it speaks to transparency and it speaks to accountability. And that, of course, is very, very important, and an informed citizen. That, too, is very critical. When I saw restrictions, I saw what it did to people. I saw what it did to myself as a member of the legislature. When you attempt to stymie the citizens that have elected you, the citizens that you represent, even if they didn't personally vote for you. So I'm pleased that you're going to refine. You are doing these rules. I don't know how they contrast to your existing rules. I have not taken the opportunity to seek that out. But I appreciate giving my comment on that. The only other thing I see here about the Committee of the Whole resolution, and I have a very just quick comment on that, because I would surmise that even in your committee structure, when the committee assigned to the particular piece of legislation is unable or unwilling to bring forth the resolution, you're always, I think, under parliamentary procedure, have the right to resolve yourself into a committee of the whole. So I just would wonder and ponder, and I did not recognize I could have gone in there and listened to the debate on it. Had I known that, I certainly would have entered and listened to why you might consider disbanding your committees and go to a committee of the whole. I think that the committee work is valuable when you're able to do it, and as long as your ears are open and you're willing to accept opinion, it makes it even more valuable. I thank you for considering what I've said. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Schulman, please come forward. How you doing? The comment, I have to read the Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
I agree with this.
All right, please state your name and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Paul Schulman. I live in Utica. I've lived in Utica for 40 some odd years, 40 years, and very rarely has a Common Council member solicited my opinion or my neighbor's opinions. Very rarely have I've had any input on anything, and I have the sense that they don't care. So I would support this open this commenting at the beginning of these meetings, because I think it's essential that the Common Council be tethered in some sense to their constituents. They must know what their constituents feel or think. And it's only this year that a new Common Council member in my district has has made it obvious that you could get in touch with her. And so I think that's terrific. But I also think that an open meeting rule should allow for open comments at the beginning.
Thank you. Al LaSalle.
Good evening. My
Mr.
name is Al LaSalle.
The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Will you abide by this?
Yes, I will try.
All right, thank you. You'll have 3 minutes.
Al LaSalle, reside here in Utica. We have almost half a new council. And I know you can't be any worse than the old council. People are laughing. The reason I'm saying this, the people here in the city voted. They voted for no term limits. It passed. It come before the past council. They voted 9-0. It passed. There'd be no extension to term limits. It went upstairs. It was vetoed. We now have term limits. It's extended to 12 years. The people's voice here in the city don't mean nothing. It hasn't for years. Now this is one thing I've felt for years isn't right. I had told vetoed it and it come back down, the council had passed it 9-0, not a motion to veto his veto. Now, gentlemen, please, you are dictated by, I think dictated, you are ruled by Robert's Book of Rules. Please get a copy. Study it. There's many good things in it. What I said about term limits, that was one. There was another one, went before him upstairs, he vetoed. Nobody ever overrides his veto. It comes down here, it passes 9-0, goes upstairs, veto it. Okay. Come back down, nothing. I see some councilmen shaking their heads, they don't understand.
Well, yeah, that's the problem.
I missed the comment, Mark?
Yep. Please continue. You have another minute. Please continue.
He's trying to shake me up, but in the past, they've brought forward to do away with the public comment. Public comment, my feelings, mine, are like the First Amendment where you have freedom of speech. They dictate what you could say, how you can say it, and why you say it. This isn't right either, but it passes, it goes through, and we let it ride. Now, if I have to, I'll go out and I'll get 2,500 signatures on a petition to keep the public comment period here in the city. Let's have open committee meetings. You call I believe it was back in, I want to say August.
Mr. LaSalle, your time has lapsed. If you'd like to close your remarks, please.
Again, I've been shut down, so I thank you. I thank you one and all for being here, the hundreds that are in attendance, the thousands at home watching on their TV sets. May God bless you. God bless your families. And most of all, may God bless Utica, New York. Thank you.
Thank you. Butch Waskowitz, if you could please come forward. Thank you. full house today. Mr. Waskowitz, the Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes, I am in agreement.
Please state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes. Thank
Okay.
you.
I am Butch Waskowitz, a 69-year-old resident of this community. I started talking about 2 years ago about saluting the veterans because we have a perfect opportunity right now of a turnkey operation for the VA, the Veterans Administration, to lease with an option, say a 25-year lease and an option after 5 years, the St. Elizabeth's campus for a Veterans Administration hospital. Currently, the Donald Mitchell Medical Center on Griffiths, a few miles away, is an outpatient service, but this is an inpatient service. In the entire United States, there may only be 1, 2, or 3 places that have a turnkey operation available to the VA. So I implore the members of this council and the people upstairs to keep working on landing a Veterans Administration hospital for Utica, New York. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. Lindsay Bonanza, if you could please come forward. Thank you. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
Please state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Lindsay Bonanza. Celeste, Delvin, Joe, congratulations. Happy to see you guys here. I attended my first meeting back in May or June of 2019, and I've been coming fairly steadily after that. I'm slowly but surely learning how these meetings go and how the pecking order is and all that stuff. But tonight was different. It's a brand new council, a brand new year, and the tone is completely different. I sat back there for 30 minutes or so of the meeting, and I heard a lot of I think, I feel, I want. I heard a lot of this would be better. I never heard a whole lot of I think this would be better for the residents because. I never heard I think we should alter the committee of the whole and the committee system because I feel it would give our residents, our taxpayers, something. It seemed like it was very self-serving conversation, and that concerns me. I think that to start off 2020 on that kind of a foot is not the idea we would want. We've already argued over public comment and preserving that kind of thing, and changing the whole tone of how these committees and how this council functions as a body is very distressing to somebody like me who really didn't know anything about all this until it landed in my backyard. So with that said, a group of people came here tonight and protested outside, which is a solid American right that we have, and it was wonderful. And I watched quite a few of these people sitting in the back room that we elected laugh at them. I don't think public comment and public protest is funny. I think what it is residents, the taxpayers, giving their input. We elected you. Our input should matter. There are a lot of us, and we are good people. We work hard. Chief Noonan doesn't know us because we get arrested every week. He knows us because we show up here and give our comments. And I think that I have talked to a lot of you, and I think that you're all good-hearted people, and I like you. And honestly, I feel like you have what it takes to do what's right in the city. What concerns me is when one person tries to take control of a meeting, or when one idea tries to get too big from upstairs, that we forget that the common council represents the common people. It doesn't represent the big money. It doesn't represent the big names. It doesn't represent the big businesses.
Ms. Bonanza,
It represents the people.
That's 3 minutes.
I thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Beverly Quist, if you could please come forward. It is Quist, right? Yes, okay. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
Please state your name and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Beverly Quist. I've lived in Utica for about 30 years. I'm a proud resident of the 5th Ward. Thank you. And I am here primarily to speak about the rumors that the council would think to reduce the amount of time that members of our community can address you directly with their concerns. 3 minutes is very little time for us to have the chance to talk with you. And in this time of dissent and disagreement in the country, it is so important for us, the ordinary people in the community, to be able to say what's on our minds. So I certainly urge you to remember one of the foundations of democracy is free speech. It is the right to expect elected officials to respond to the needs of their community, not just their constituents, not just the people in their party, but everyone in the community. A mainstream newspaper has recently taken as its slogan, "Democracy dies in darkness." And I think that is something that I would want to leave with you. You are, as the prior speaker said, well-meaning, concerned individuals, but a lot is at stake. So please continue to keep this awful idea tabled. Democracy dies in darkness. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina Andriotta. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
Please state your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Christina Andriotta. I also came here tonight because I heard rumors that the public comment period was going to be eliminated. I'm very glad to hear that it's no longer planning to be eliminated, but I did take a look at one of the packets that you all were debating, and I think that the proposed changes are still highly problematic and a violation of our First Amendment rights. The idea that you can limit disparaging remarks about elected officials is very subjective, is a violation of my First Amendment rights. I wish to reserve my representative. I live in the 3rd Ward. Celeste Friend is my council member. And if she is supporting legislation that I find problematic, I reserve the right to issue some disparaging remarks about that. I also find it problematic that you're thinking about limiting the number of people who can speak from a group. A lot of people come together and organize because they share experiences. There might be a lot of people who are directly impacted by an issue. Just because they belong to a group should not mean that any single one of them is precluded from exercising their First Amendment right. Highly problematic. Also, the idea that you're talking about ending committees because of a lack of transparency and ineffectiveness and not vetting legislation is a really bad reason to end committees and a really good reason to increase transparency. Think about publishing meeting minutes. Where are the meeting minutes for the general council meeting? Why can I not find online the minutes to council meetings? Committees are extraordinarily important. Committees exist to reduce the workload of council members. It reduces the length of the meetings. It allows for specialization and deep knowledge on particular topics. It allows for better quality legislation to come out of this governing body. And the idea that you want to operate solely as a committee of the whole, I saw the dysfunction in that room, and the idea that anything good can come out of you all talking over each other and battling for the floor and all trying to take up space, is kind of ludicrous. Anyone who's part of a well-organized group knows that all the real work happens in committees, and there is real work to be done in this city. There are things that this council could do, from participatory budgeting to rent regulations to passing a lead law, and to do anything, you're going to need to keep the committee structured. Thank you.
Thank you. Cimbria Battenhausen, please come forward. Thank you. Two more after that. Okay. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
I am.
Please state your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Kimbria Badenhausen.
Oh, sorry, Kimbria.
It's okay. It happens all the time. I just want to ditto everything she said. Like, can I just play a video of that? I want to congratulate all of you. All of you got reelected or elected. Congratulations. This is a huge responsibility that you've taken on. I live in the 1st Ward, and I love Utica. I've been here just about almost 2 years, and I haven't felt this much at home in a very long time. I think this is a great community. I've seen, democracy is a spectator sport, and this flag represents a community of people who came together and fought a revolution so they could be represented and they could have a voice. This is the very basic premise of our Constitution. It's a very basic premise of the meetings. So I was flabbergasted when I heard that you were going to limit or take away public comment. I've lived in super conservative states, I've lived in super liberal states, and all of them, I mean, I've lived in towns with an open meeting for town meetings where 100 people get together and debate things that are going to happen for the next year in New Hampshire. I've been to the Iowa caucus. These are some of the most exciting places you can possibly be, where democracy is happening in real time, and you have people who have lived together for 50 and 60 and 80 years debating what's going to happen in their city. And there's nothing better than that. So limiting the time and reducing the time is exactly the opposite way that we want to go. What we want to do is provide more voice, more opportunity. That's where the genius comes from, is from people being able to contribute to other people's ideas. That's how you're going to make a stunning city, which I really believe Utica can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Keblish. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
I am.
Please state your name and you'll have 3 minutes.
Steve Keblish. I thought I was going to be the last one speaking so we could begin and end with a librarian. I'm not a librarian today, but I was once one, and I wanted to tidy everything up for everybody. But a lot of great things were said, and I would ditto everybody I heard today, even Butch. I had to go to the VA for primary care on Monday and a specialized appointment at the Syracuse VA on Tuesday, and I wish I could do it all here in Utica. But for now, let's talk about the public comment period. You know, obviously the question of eliminating it seems to be off the table at the moment, but the rules are very important. Just to get to the rules, I would recommend that, you know, at least the protected classes that are protected by either New York or federal law, at least that's codified in some way so that anybody who is using this platform or this microphone doesn't violate the rights of private citizens to be respected. So, you know, as far as disparaging comments, I would let those laws stand and be a good guide. But beyond that, I don't believe there's anything more that needs to be done. I mean, honestly, except to distinguish what's personal from the things that are proper here, which are questions of for the public, questions of policy, matters that are of a professional or philosophical nature. Those should be given broad latitude. Just because any of those items might contain things that may be considered negative. Again, I would just go back to that one key concept. As long as we're not disrespecting any individual or any person, you know, who has a right to their own dignity, I don't see any reason to why we should try to limit or define, you know, what disparaging is in any way that may endanger our free speech or free expression. And then our committee system definitely needs to exist in a way that allows not just for maximal discussion of the issues, but maximal transparency of the issues. And any system that gets adopted by this council should have at the forefront of it the mechanisms and play-by-play of how those ideas and how those policies will get an audience before the public, so that they have as much time and ability to comment on those things as you do. So I would guide your overall policy on that mechanism of thought rather than any other efficiencies you may think come from a committee of the whole or otherwise. And finally, just a tangent, if I've got a moment.
You got about 22 seconds.
Oh man,
Yeah,
22
yeah.
seconds. You know, I'll probably just wrap this idea in with another. You stand as the gate guards of our local democracy. The ability to stand here person to person and not let social media or national media come between us, not let ourselves be dehumanized by technology. These are all great opportunities we cannot let go, and we need to keep these things as robust and as personally powerful as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more speaker this evening, Lucretia Hunt. Could you please come forward? Thank you.
Go ahead.
The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
State your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
Lucretia Hunt, East Utica.
Thank you.
I thought I'd be first on the list, but I'm last. What my idea is to welcome the new members to the Common Council tonight. You're all here. You have a job to do for your constituents, for the city, and for the people. So I'm telling you to go forward, and good luck.
Thank you. That closes public comment period. Thank you, everyone. And I invite you to stay for the rest of the meeting. We have no common council guests this evening, so do we have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes? We have a motion from Lemetico. Do we have a second? We have a second from Moody. Any opposed? We have one opposed. 4-3. Thank you.
Point of information, Mr. President.
Would you like to qualify your vote?
I'd like to qualify that. I don't have any minutes, so it's interesting to dispense with the reading of the minutes when I have no minutes in front of me. So that's my qualification.
There is a recap at the conclusion of each council meeting. I did speak to the clerk about that, and we'll make sure everyone knows the location of that.
Okay, are those recaps the same as minutes?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Next order of business, communication. Oh, we have no communications from the mayor. We have the city officers here I'd like to acknowledge. Fire chief, deputy police chief, corporation counsel, anything this evening. Thank you for coming. Petitions, remonstrances, and appeals. Second District, Councilman Robert Burmaster, you have the floor. Thank you. Third District, Councilwoman Celeste Friend, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a few
Yeah,
things.
I know.
I'm gonna borrow Bob's time. So first, I just have to say what a thrill and privilege it is to sit here in this chair. It's the privilege and honor of a lifetime to have been elected by people, many of whom have never met me, and to carry their voice to City Hall. Thank you for all of them to allow me to serve you. I've come to Common Council for years in order to observe and thought off and on for years about sitting in this chair. It's a little surreal. I'm going to have to get used to it, the idea that I'm in this chair and not out there, where I've been for years. Second, I want to let everyone know about several ways to be in touch with me, and I'm going to encourage especially my constituents, but anybody, to pick up this flyer. You can sign up for a newsletter, an email newsletter, by going to utica4all.com. utica4all.com. You can go to our website, that website. You can also follow me on Facebook, a Facebook page for ongoing announcements about events. You can obviously email me, you can text or phone me, and all that information again is on this flyer. You can come to the South Utica Neighborhood Association meeting, which is the second Monday of every month at Notre Dame Elementary School at 105 Barton Ave. You can also come to my regular constituent hours, which are on the first, second, and fourth Tuesday of every month from 4 till 6 p.m. at the Other Side Gallery, which is next to Cafe Domenico. I'll be there 3 Tuesdays a month from 4 to 6. And I'll also be holding some special meetings. I've got a couple meetings coming up on flooding in my, for my ward, and also I'm going to be holding a large general town hall at the end of February. Again, all that's on this flyer. Please come and get this. So third, I want to thank everyone who came out tonight and showed up for democracy. A real robust democracy means that we all have to show up, whether it's representatives showing up on their constituents' porches to help them with their issues, as many of us do all the time, as I did this morning. But it means constituents showing up at meetings like this in order to make their voices heard. So you could be home with your family and friends, you could be binge watching something on Netflix, but instead you showed up, and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. And then lastly, I want to address myself to my fellow council members. The work of being democratically elected officials here in this city of Utica will be gratifying. I find it very gratifying already, and enjoyable, but it will also at times be very hard. We will disagree, and we know this, we disagreed tonight. And this is the really important thing that I cannot say enough, reasonable and well-meaning people can disagree and still respect each other and treat each other with civility and respect. Reasonable and well-meaning people can disagree and still respect each other and treat each other with civility and respect. So much of politics, both here in Utica and writ large in the country, has become incredibly divisive, as one of our public commenters alluded to. There's a tendency on the part of many people to treat those with whom we disagree as stupid or corrupt or perhaps even as evil. And you hear that rhetoric, you hear it here in Utica. My commitment to you, to each of you, is to make every effort to always listen to you, to always make every effort to really understand and appreciate your points of view, and to treat you as I expect to be treated, with respect and appreciation for the dedication and commitment that we all bring to this room. Thank you.
Thank you. Fourth District, Councilman Frank Miola, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I enjoyed everybody's input today, especially the public. Some of your ideas are excellent. I wrote some of them down to extend the time, 30 minutes if we got a bigger crowd. Let's extend that time. The council could do that by a 2/3 vote, amend their bylaws. Excellent idea. Another idea that came to the table was the 3-minute rule. We can extend that. For example, if there's a big project or something that comes to our table, the council could also extend the 3-minute rule. It's up to the group to change their bylaws or rules of order at any time. And thank you for that input also. The part about the committee as a whole, the theory is that every council member needs to vote on issues that we have in front of us. So every council member should have the same information that we hear from our department heads at the same time. That is the basic theory of committee as a whole. Some people agree on it, some people don't. But if I can't make a committee meeting, or there's only 2 or 3 that do need it in the past, it's quite difficult if 2 or 3 people are only the positive vote, and none of my colleagues over here have the opportunity to ask the questions. So that is actually the theory of committee of the whole. So everybody gets to ask the questions and get their answers from our department heads or wherever else comes to the table for legislation in front of us. That's the basic theory of it. It works the same way as small committees. Legislation goes in, but every colleague here has the opportunity to ask the questions. The other parts about the minutes, we are going to, matter of fact, Celeste, that's a great idea. I do believe that we should publish the minutes somehow and have them available to everybody here. The prior meetings, excellent. Celeste, I will try to work out a system so everybody can preview the minutes that we had in our prior, especially this council meeting before our next one. So you're absolutely right. How can you pass the minutes without reviewing them? Excellent. And thank you, everybody, for your time. And I'd like to thank all the Fourth Ward constituents that voted for me. And I'll do the best I could to move our city forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Fifth District, Councilman Delvin Moody, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is it's great to be in this seat. It was a few years ago I was sitting in your chair operating the Youth Common Council, and now to be here as an actual member of the City Council is a great turnaround, and just shows, I think, in a young person that you can go away to college and come back home and try to do some good for your community.
Which college was that?
The only college that matters in the state of New York, other than Colgate University, and that's the University of Rochester, where we both went to school. So, great school. Shout out to Rochester. But it is an honor to be here, and certainly I'm looking forward to working with all of the members of this council to find ways, solutions to the problems that we're facing both in our districts and as a city, and work on legislation and policy to move our city forward. As a co-equal branch of government, it is our role in many ways to legislate and to provide good policy that helps to move this city forward. That's why I ran. That's why I was elected. I want to also make a few mentions, and then I'll pass my time over. I think Celeste kind of took a few of my minutes, but I'll be brief. I want to thank the Utica Police Department for their work in Oneida Square. Those of us who drive past that area frequently, we see that it is less people out in front of the corner stores, and whatever you're doing in that area has been helping us in trying to clean up that area. So I do appreciate the work that you're doing there. I want to make mention, last week we had a Cornhill Citizens Advisory Board meeting offering the opportunity for constituents of Cornhill and citizens in the area to come out and voice their concerns on anything, and that was well attended. And we're looking to solutions on how we can improve our community and make Cornhill better. I want to also mention tomorrow is a meeting at 5 o'clock at Johnson Park. We're going to be meeting with the Johnson Park Center to discuss the 54 affordable housing units that are going to be built in the Cornhill area. I want to make sure that constituents know about the project, not only know about the project, but get all their questions answered and just have the dialogue between city government, Johnson Park area, and the Cornhill community. So if any other council members, especially the at-large members, are able to come out to that meeting, you're more than welcome. Shout out to all of those that came here today, whether you agree with public comment period or not. I think all of the common council agrees to keep it. It's good to just see citizens showing up and voicing their comment on legislation that we're writing. That's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Sixth Ward, Councilman Joe Beatrice, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank all the constituents of the 6th Ward who were there to support me and elected me. It's truly an honor to sit and serve on the council. I also want to thank all of you, from the judge to you, to the clerk, to my fellow council people who've welcomed me and helped me with teaching me the ropes. I'm basically a people person, and I ran on being there for the people all the time, and I intend on doing that. So all the processes of running a meeting and the legislation and all that stuff is new to me, and you guys all have welcomed me and helped me every way. I appreciate it. I also want to thank all you people who showed up tonight for public comment, and I urge you to keep coming every week and speak your piece, and do not worry that public comment was not going to be taken away and never will be taken away as long as I'm sitting in this chair and have something to say. I also at this time want to thank Police Chief Williams and Police Chief Noonan for their help on Saturday night when we had a citizen with a gun running through North Utica. I was working my other job, and the police chief was back and forth with me, informing me. I think they did a great job. The fire chief helped me out the other day with something, and I just think it's great with the, you know, the communication is there all the time. I also want you to know that our North Utica meetings, I want to have as many people there as possible. We have them on the fourth Monday of every month, so we have one on January 27th, our first one of the year. We're going to have a guest speaker, Jamie Tuttle, from the Solid Waste. I also will be having office hours from 6 to 6:30 before the meeting for anybody who would like to come and meet me, tell me any of their needs. They may not want to stay for a meeting, but you know, I'd like just to see you, meet you. And like I said, I'm available at all times, and I feel free, and I'm just honored to be able to serve here on the council. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman at Large and Minority Leader Mark Williamson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to thank the Elks over on Champlain Ave. They did an extraordinary thing a couple weeks ago. They donated quite an amount of food to one of our own World War II veterans, Mr. Frazier, who served in Patton's Army on Elizabeth Street. And it was an awesome thing. Myself, Jack, and Mr. Burmaster, who's a part of the Elks, brought that, and we made it happen. So we took care of one of our own within the city. And you know, we talk about the flag and everything else. We talk about the flag, and you know, freedom's not free, of course. And yeah, we do have rules in public comment. Public comment was never going to disappear. It was just misconstrued altogether. But we got to put rules in there because, yeah, we got the freedom of speech, and that's okay. You got everybody's got the freedom of speech. That's why I want to serve my country for 23 years. But if a gentleman or somebody, you know, takes that flag and burns it in front of me, you might be held accountable for your actions. Now, that's your flag, and that's just the way it is. That's freedom of speech. So we do have to have rules in there. So you do have the freedom of speech, and that's why we have the flag, and that's why we have people out there fighting for their freedom. But you're going to be held accountable for your actions if you know, disagree with those rules. And so, and that's why we had to put things in there. You know, a lot of things happen. You know, I've been called whitey, you know, and you know, that's freedom of speech. But if I say another word, then I'm a racist, and that's not right. So I'll leave it at that. I just want to thank you guys, you know, the new council and everything else, and the Elks for what you did a couple weeks ago. I thought that was awesome, and I thought it was just a great thing. And the whole day I felt good. So thank you.
Thank you. Council at Large, Jack Lemetico, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to be brief because I wanted to give the new council people a chance to speak, and I'd like to welcome them all here. And I know you're going to do a great job for the city of Utica and the people of the city of Utica. So thank you, and welcome aboard, first of all. The second part is the public comment. Apparently, it was somebody overzealous said that we were getting rid of it, and I don't know why that was ever the case. I spent 34 years in the military defending free speech, and that would never ever pass this council, and I would make sure it didn't. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming today and for taking notice of that. And you do have the right, if you hear something, even though it wasn't true, to speak your mind on this. So thank you again for coming. The other thing is, on the committee of the whole, like everything else, it's a living document. We could change it as we go. We're going to make some changes coming up shortly. If we don't see that that's going to work, we could always change it after that too. Nothing's in concrete forever. That's why you voted this in the legislate. We're going to look at it. We're going to vet it. If anything needs tweaking, we'll make sure that we fix it. But everything we do in the committee, and if we're looking to streamline it to make it a committee of the whole, there's some good parts of it. There's some people that disagree with it. But please keep in mind, everything we do is to streamline things, to get the legislation done correctly, to vet it, to make sure it's done correctly. So we're not doing anything just to get it by us and pass it. We just want everybody's opinion on it, and if it doesn't work, we could always tweak it and go from there. But once again, I'd like to thank everybody here for coming, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman at Large Frank DeBrango, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Couple issues everybody talked about, you know, the public comment period. It's fine, you know, a couple weeks ago, a couple meetings ago, you know, I really don't want to get rid of it. I didn't want to get rid of it. It brings up some good ideas. Some people pass some ideas on to you, and then you react to it. And it's the only way you're going to hear some of your constituents. But I just want everybody to know that if you do want to get a hold of a council person, the clerk's office is open. She has all our phone numbers, all our information. You can contact them at any time. We all have business cards. We all have phone numbers on them, and she's allowed to give you know, our phone numbers or emails or whatever it may be to anybody who's looking to speak to a council person. But I just want to talk about, I know it happened a couple weeks ago, the New Year's Eve, the event that took place. I know I didn't get a chance because our other meeting wasn't very public at the time. But I want to get a chance to thank the police and fire department. I think they did an excellent job. I think it was a very safe atmosphere, very festive. I thought the entertainment was great. The weather was cooperative. A lot of our local restaurants had a lot of business. So that was a great event. I hope that they would maybe continue it. I know the Bank of Utica sponsored it. I want to thank the Bank of Utica for that because I heard they shelled out some very big bucks for that event, and I thought it went very well. And if anybody has seen the photos, there's a drone photo of how many people attended around midnight. That was quite the scene. As far as the you know, as far as the committee as a whole, we're still going to discuss it. I'm still open. I haven't made a definite determination on it. The president provided us with some information of his ideas. I like to hear everybody's ideas, and I'm sure we'll come to an agreement on what to do as far as the committee system. I think that is all I had. I just want to welcome all the new council members. I think our first meeting went well. Everybody voiced their opinion, which is great. I sat back and listened to the new council members. I like how they're getting very active, and I like how they're getting involved, and that's going to be a good thing. I look forward for 2020 to be a great year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so first, thank you everyone for your comments regarding public comment. Even though that at this point, the removal of that is regarded as a rumor, it's appreciated that you still took the time to remind the council members what you would say if they were to try and remove that. The second thing is the minutes. The council recaps are in fact posted on the eCode 360 website where our charter and city code is posted. I have in the council update column in the OD posted that link prior. The recaps are accessible to the public at that link. The recaps and the minutes, the full minutes, as they are placed in our council book at the end of the year. The recap is a condensed version, although it does represent the minutes. And prior, if someone did want the actual full minutes, the clerk has always provided that to somebody if they would like to see that. But something that we are looking forward to doing is increasing the use of that website, eCode 360, and enhancing the recap so they do also include the motions that the council members have made. That's something that's already available and already posted to public website. Thank you. The next thing is the committees. Section 2-2-27 of the charter states that the council president may appoint the committees, name the committees, create the committee memberships. It also states that the council can create those committees. The council president does have, it says May, so the date's not firm, but I've always held myself to that date until January 20th to appoint those committees. I see the merit in the committees. I will be making that appointment in accordance with the charter. Those committees will be formed and established by January 20th. Please hold that. And I want to just mention something about the rules of order. Some time ago, I can't remember if it was 8 or 9 years ago, not these people, but this council enacted rules of order that restricted the use of committees and how to introduce legislation. Over the past 4 years, we've also dealt with that. Of course, any council member could always waive the rules of order and introduce legislation in different ways on the floor, possibly use a committee of the whole, but it was a bit laborious sometimes. One of the ideas that I had presented that Councilman DeBrango had mentioned was to take the current rules of order and tweak them so that we could possibly improve upon what we currently have. But I just wanted to state that in accordance with the charter, I will be establishing those committees by the 20th. So next order of business, ordinances and resolutions. Oh yeah, we do have some cash reports, miscellaneous communications. All right.
We have the cash report from the City Comptroller's Office for December 2019. The general fund cash balance as of December 31st, 2019 is $6,049,579.64 received and filed.
Thank you very much. Anything else? All right. We're going to go through our ordinances and resolutions which were on the agenda, and then we'll move on to the secondary packet that was discussed in caucus, driven by Mark Williamson this evening. Thank you. Resolution 1 is a call for a public hearing regarding the sale of parcel 318-48-3-85.3 Warren Street in the amount of $500 to Compassion Coalition Incorporated by the Urban Renewal Agency. Corporation Counsel, would you like to comment?
I would like to comment that should actually be on public hearing on the lease of that parcel.
On the lease?
Lease of that.
Okay. Let me just make sure that the legislation, yes, lease agreement. It's in there. Okay. Thank you. Your votes?
8 yeas adopted.
Excuse me.
The public hearing will be at the first Wednesday of February, which is our first scheduled meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for reading it to the record, Mr. President.
Thank you. It was changed. We changed it in caucus. Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Ordinance 2 is the lease of parcel 318-48-3-85.3 on Warren Street in the amount of $500 to Compassion Coalition by the Urban Renewal Agency. Is there a motion to place that ordinance in committee? We have a motion from Lemetico, second from Williamson. Any opposed? It's in committee. Resolution 3 is a transfer of funds from general city retirement, fire disability, police hospitalization to DPW retirement and police retirement in the amount of $331,848. That is for the fiscal year 2019-2020. Your votes?
Eight yeas adopted.
Thank you very much. The next two ordinances are a pair, although we will vote on them separately. Ordinance 4, sponsored by Councilmember Moody, rescind the following legislation. Ordained that Section 2-16-365, Schedule J, limited parking, 2-hour parking, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. unless otherwise indicated, to rescind as follows. Park Avenue West Side from Eagle Street to Dakin Street. Your votes.
Eight yeas adopted.
Thank you. Ordinance number 5, sponsored by Councilmember Moody. No parking at all times. Ordained that Section 2-16-360, Schedule E, no parking at all times, Park Avenue West Side from Eagle Street to Dakin Street. Your votes. Councilmember?
Did we go over 3 yet?
3.
Did we pass, I think we passed 3.
Did I, Yeah. It was a
transfer.
transfer. We just did it. Yeah, sorry. It's warm in here, which is unusual. Yeah. The heat's on finally. All right, I just read the ordinance number 5, Park Avenue West Side from Eagle Street to Dakin Street, no parking at all times. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
Thank you. We have the Commissioner of Deeds, Resolution Number 6. Commissioner of Deeds resolved that the Common Council does hereby appoint the following person as Commissioner of Deeds in and for the City of Utica for a 2-year term commencing January 15th, 2020, ending January 15th, 2022. Stephanie L. Teege. It's to be forwarded to the new Deputy Clerk at Oneida County Clerk's Office. It was sponsored by Minority and Majority Leader. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
Okay, we're going to move on to the packet from the caucus, which all legislation discussed in caucus will have to be introduced, then acted on. Thank you. Proposed ordinance number 1 was an ordinance authorizing the sale of DPW and Parks vehicle and equipment for auction. Before reading this, is somebody going to move this legislation? We have Councilman Miola, the motion.
Mr. Chairman, we may have to waive the Thursday rule.
This particular legislation.
Did we get it after Thursday?
Is being moved by you. It did not come from an outside department. So if
Okay.
it's moved by you, we're okay. We're covered.
I would like to move this legislation,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
Thank you. We have a second from Lemetico. Any opposed to introducing this legislation to the floor? Okay. The ordinance authorizing sale of DPW and Parks vehicles and equipment for auction, ordained pursuant to Section 7.007 of the Utica City Charter, the mayor or his authorized representative is hereby authorized to sell the city-owned personal property described below. Such property shall be offered for sale after public advertisement to the highest responsible bidder, or in whatever manner the mayor or his representative deems most appropriate. Further ordained, in the event that no bids are received for any such property, or that the Board of Estimate and Apportionment determines that any such bids are not in the best interest of the city, the mayor is hereby authorized to dispose of such property in any manner that he deems to be in the best interest of the city. Further ordained, any such sale or disposition is subject to the approval of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. Further ordained, the property to be sold is described as follows: 1989 Cabelco excavator, 1989 Srico bucket rotting machine, another bucket rotting machine, 1994 Oshkosh plow / salter, a second 1994 Oshkosh plow salter, 1995 Pace trailer, and a 1995 F800 dump truck. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
Thank you very much. The next proposed resolution is a resolution approving the granting of an overhead utility easement over Edward Street. I believe Councilman Burmaster, you described that you may move this piece. Would you like to make a motion to introduce? Would you like to make a motion to introduce the resolution approving the granting of an overhead utility easement over Edward Street as discussed in caucus? Yeah. Okay, so your motion to introduce,
I thought we were okay with this.
we have to introduce it, otherwise it won't be legislation. So do we have a second? We have a second from Lemetico. Any opposed to the introduction of this legislation? Okay, now as discussed in caucus, if you'd like to either table.
I would like to
committee.
move to table.
Okay, we have a motion to table, a second. We have a second from Lemetico. Any opposed to laying this on the table? All right, clerk, please note that this is on the table. Okay. The next proposed resolution is a resolution authorizing the adjustment to the 2019-2020 solid waste service charge. Would you like to make a motion, Councilman?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move this legislation, please. Are we sure we don't need a Thursday rule on this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to second it.
All right, thank you. Any opposed to introducing this legislation? Okay. I will read the legislation. Resolution authorizing the adjustment to the 2019-2020 solid waste service charge, whereas pursuant to Section 1, Subdivision 12 of Local Law Number 1 of 1990, a person may appeal a determination made regarding the levy of solid waste service charge. And whereas the said local law further provides that where an application involves the request for a refund plus interest or modification of the solid waste service charge after the bill of the same has been sent, such application must be approved or disapproved by the Common Council. And Whereas the following applications have been made by William A. Rabia, Executive Director for the Oneida Herkimer Solid Waste Management Authority, as acting agent for the City of Utica, has reviewed the same and recommended the approval thereof. Resolved, the Common Council of the City of Utica hereby approves the application for adjustment to the City of Utica Solid Waste Service Charge for the fiscal year 2019-2020 as follows. Parcel number 331.9-2-4.4, property location is 1700 Parkway. The approval reason is a private hauler. Fee waived, $258. Owner is New York State Utica Armory. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
Okay, the next is ordinance, proposed resolution number 4. The same will go, someone will have to move the legislation. Resolution dissolving section 3248 and section 3252 standing committees within the Utica Common Council.
Mr. President, I'd like to table this, please.
All right, so you're going to introduce it?
Introduce it.
All right, we have a motion to
Second.
introduce, second from Lemetico. Any opposed? Motion to table?
Motion to table, sir.
All right, motion to table, second. Lemetico, any opposed? All right, I'll read this into the record. Whereas the previous years, the standing committee system was beneficial, and whereas now the committee system has become ineffective and inefficient due to the lack of transparency and not vetting legislation to its full potential, it will be beneficial that we meet as a committee of the whole to make sure that each member of the public is provided with important, transparent information as we as a council make an extremely important decision moving our city forward. And now therefore be it resolved that section 3248 and 3252 be removed from the city charter and replaced with section 3252, meeting of the committee of the whole. It's been tabled. Proposed resolution number 6, a resolution amending section 3241.1 of the Rules of Order.
Move to introduce, Mr. President.
All right, we have a motion introduced. We have a second from Lemetico. Any opposed to introducing this legislation? Okay, be it resolved that the Common Council does amend the Rules of Order. Section 3241-1 shall read as follows. Section 3241-1, pre-meeting conference / committee of the whole. Do you want to make amendments before we table this?
I think we can do it right now, right?
Oh, you can? I need to read it, though. All right, cool. All right. The members of the Common Council and the President of the Common Council shall meet prior to each regular and special meeting as a committee of the whole. The meeting shall be chaired by the majority leader of the Common Council, who shall endeavor to conduct the meeting so as to not delay the commencement of a regular or special meeting set forth herein. The pre-meeting conference committee of the whole is advisory only. No action may be taken on any resolution, ordinance, and/or local law. Action by the Common Council on any resolution, ordinance, or local laws can only be taken at a regularly scheduled meeting or special meeting as set forth in section 3.002 of the Utica City Charter and section 33 and 34 of Second Class Cities Law and section 3-2-42 as set forth herein. The Common Council has, this is section C, sorry. The Common Council has in the past scheduled committee of the whole meetings at a place other than City Hall. These meetings usually took place on Saturday when City Hall is closed and during the period when the annual budget is being discussed with various department heads. The most common facility used is the Recreation Center located on the Memorial Parkway. Prior notice of these meetings, or meeting is announced by the council prior thereto. It's on the floor. It's been introduced.
We move to table this piece of legislation.
We have a motion to table. We have a second. Any opposed? Okay, it's been tabled. Proposed resolution number 6, resolution amending section 3244 of the Rules of Order, RE Public Comment Period. Would someone like to introduce this?
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce this legislation and move it, please.
Okay, we have Councilman Miola. Lemetico is the second. Any opposed to introducing this legislation? Okay, it's been introduced.
Motion to amend.
We have some amendments on the floor, I believe.
Motion to amend.
Okay.
I have 2 motions to amend.
Okay, so your first motion to amend is?
The first motion going to be amended is paragraph A. I'll read the paragraph and I'll read the change.
Okay, so it's a motion to strike and replace?
Correct.
Okay.
I got the speaker now. Okay. Currently, privilege of the floor shall be combined with public comment period to occur at the beginning of each Common Council meeting. The Common Council shall provide 30 minutes for public comment before commencing action on pending new legislation. The public comment period is for the benefit of the public that would like to be heard on pending legislation or such topics which pertain to city business. The change I'd like to make would come from Councilperson Friend's initial legislation, where we'd like to take her portion of that legislation and change it. And then it would go as, whereas democracy lies upon the participation of elected officials and constitutes alike, at the beginning of each common council meeting, the common council shall provide 30 minutes of public comment. The time shall be allotted for those non-members who wish to express their views on anything pertaining to city business.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? We have a second from DeBrango, actually. Any opposed to the motion? All right, the motion to strike and replace is carried. I will read, is there a second? I believe you said.
The second, yes, the section shall be, I think there's only one, I could be mistaken here, but if you look at paragraph 4, it says no speaker is allowed to make derogatory comments about anyone's race, religion, or their orientation. We'd like to change that to no speaker is allowed to make derogatory / disparaging comments about anyone's race, religion, or other orientations.
Do we have a second? We have a second from Beatrice. Any opposed? Okay, the Second Amendment is carried. Is there any other debate and/or amendments to this legislation at this time? Okay, I believe there was a motion to table. I will read the rest of the...
No, to vote. We want to vote on it.
Oh, all right, okay. Okay, you want to bring this to a vote? Sounds good. Let me read the rest of the legislation. All right, so Councilman Lemetico read paragraph A as amended. B, no person or group will be allowed to consume the entire period allotted. C, the timekeeper shall be the president of the common council. No speakers shall receive more time that is allotted. If a group appears and it is clear that the group will consume the entire time allotted, then the group is instructed to choose 2 speakers to speak on their behalf and be given 4 minutes each. The remaining 22 minutes will be divided equally among the remaining persons who have signed up to speak. D, the president of the common council will preside over public comment period. The following is prohibited. 1, no speaker shall use profane language. 2, no speaker shall make disparaging remarks about elected officials, officials such as department heads, and members of the corporation counsel's office, members of the city clerk's office, or other offices and appointees. No person shall attempt to engage the president, members of the council, or other to engage in debate. No speaker is allowed to make disparaging / derogatory comments. Sorry, I believe you put derogatory / disparaging comments about anyone's race, religion, or other orientation. No person shall shout, swear, or make threatening remarks that are addressed to anyone, nor will a person be allowed to engage in hostile conduct. The president of the common council has the authority to discontinue or end the time allotted to a speaker who violates one or more of the above rules. Should a person make threatening remarks or act in threatening manner, the president of the common council may request that they stop and remove themselves from the podium. In an extreme case, the president may request that said person be removed from the council chambers. A copy of the rules shall be posted at the podium, and each speaker shall attest to have read the rule and will comply with said rules. Your votes.
Point of order, can we debate? Or we're just voting on?
You, if you would like to, yes, you would like the floor.
I would like the, I would like the floor, please. So this is, just to make sure that everybody is following along, this was a proposed resolution that was presented to us in caucus. That is the one that the president has just read, but also Councilman Lemetico read the amendments to. I have a number of logical and principled objections to it. First of all, I just found another logical problem. In C, it says, so groups show up, groups can appoint or get appointed a couple of representatives who get 4 minutes each. I get the idea there, the intention, right? Which is, well, you've got a group, we're going to give you a little extra time. So say 2 groups show up, they each pick 2 speakers, and each of those speakers gets 4 minutes each. That's 16 minutes. And then it says the remaining 22 minutes will be divided equally among the remaining persons who have signed up to speak. So Al, my suggestion to you is you always want to be the one public commenter who follows.
Please address the chair with your remarks. Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's quite all right.
What's going to happen is that on the nights where very few people show up, but a couple of groups show up, right? Somebody could get 30 minus 16 is 14. You could get 14 minutes. You get 2 people show up, well, they get 7 minutes. You get 3 people in addition to those groups show up, well, they get 14 divided by 3, right? It's not logical. So that's another problem I just discovered. I don't know what disparaging means. I think that's a very subjective, qualitative kind of justification or quality. I want to know who's deciding the group and who's deciding who the spokespeople for the group are. I just find all that very problematic. And then I'll just mention only one more. Number 4, it says no speaker is allowed to make derogatory comments about anyone's race, religion, or other orientation. Race, religion, or other orientation. It just strikes me as a very unusual wording to describe people. I think, earlier it was suggested during public comment period, we might want to think about protected classes of persons who New York state law lays out for us. I don't know what they all are. Race and religion are certainly part of it. Sexual orientation is part of it. There are others. But race, religion, or other orientation just strikes me as a very problematic construction of how we are qualifying this. So those are my objections to this legislation.
Prior to the vote, if anyone would like to offer a motion to amend, a motion to table, a motion to place in committee of the whole, a motion to place in committee, any of those motions are in play if they come from the floor. Otherwise, we're bringing this to a vote. Anyone? Your votes?
8 yeas adopted.
Mr. President, I'd like to qualify my vote. I know I'm sucking up a lot of time tonight, sorry. I won't overdo this. I voted for it because I think it's really incredibly important to preserve public comment period.
I believe, is your microphone on?
Nope.
Thank you. There you go.
I want to qualify my vote. I voted for this because I think it's incredibly important to preserve public comment period for all the reasons that people said. I like Councilman Beatrice. If it's the last thing I'll do, I'll protect comment period, public comment in this room. So that's why I voted for this, in order to preserve this. But I do have a number of problems with this legislation, how it's written. And I'm just going to mention one more, which is that the last thing says, a copy of the rule shall be posted at the podium, and each speaker shall attest to having read the rule and will comply with said rules. And I would just like to know how anybody is expected to read all of that in the minute or so during the 30 seconds or so during which the president is introducing them. The alternative legislation that I proposed during the caucus was, I would guess, 1/3 as many words. Thank you.
We will print another copy and place it with the sign-in sheets, by the way. All right. Would you like the floor?
Yes, I would like the floor.
All right, you have the floor. Councilman DeBrango.
First of all,
can
when
you clear the board?
someone does sign up, the copy is there, and they normally sign up before we start the meeting, so they have a chance to read the rules then. So I would recommend anybody who wants to speak could read the rules before they come up there, so they don't waste their time reading the rules and waste their 3 minutes of speaking. That is all.
All right, thank you.
One other point on that, too. Can I make a point on that?
You would like to request the floor. You have the floor.
Thank you.
Yes.
And and if there's 2 people left over and there's 22 minutes left, they're still going to get their 3 minutes. No, I think I would think that the president would have enough sense that if there's only 20 people in the place and they all want to speak about the same subject and they're all about the same group, he could probably divide that up if he wishes, because he has overall authority on who actually speaks when he vets it.
All right.
May I have the floor?
We are going to move on. The votes have been qualified. I will state this, though. I would implore the council to consider readdressing how the time is divided, because that is actually not necessarily logical. So let's just move on. I'm just saying, for me to enforce that is a little haphazard. Thank you very much. And I also thank you for trying to back up the chair in enforcing an open public comment period rule. All right, next resolution number 7, a resolution adopting a new section 3-2-52 of the Rules of Order entitled Coordinator. Is there a motion to introduce?
I'd like a motion to move and then table, Mr. President.
Right, so we have a motion to introduce the resolution I have read, that will read,
You have
Councilman
to read the
Miola
whole
is the
thing.
sponsor.
You want to read the whole thing?
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
summarize it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The council has read this in caucus. I'm going to summarize the legislation. The packets have been provided to the public and the press. Be it resolved that the Common Council does amend the rules of order by dissolving the former Section 3-2-52 and replacing it with new Section 3-2-52-1 that shall read as follows. Section 3-2-52-1 Coordinator. 1, as set forth in the newly adopted Section 3-2-48 of the Rules of Order, the legislation that is tabled following introduction may be referred to a member of the Common Council who is designated as the coordinator to investigate and discuss legislation with appropriate department heads and any/or other persons of interest in that particular legislation. This goes on to list committee names and designates the coordinator shall be appointed by the President of the Common Council after confirming with the member as to whether or not he or she will accept the designation.
Motion to table, Mr. President.
We need a second to the introduction. Okay, any opposed? No one's opposed. We have a motion to table. Beatrice is going to second that one. Thank you very much. Any opposed to tabling this? All right, lays on the table to council. Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone moving through this. Next, proposed resolution, number 8, a resolution adopting a new section 3-2-48 entitled The Committee of the Whole. Do we have a motion to introduce?
Motion to introduce, Mr. President.
All right. We have a motion from Councilman Miola. We have a second from DeBrango. Any opposed to the introduction of this resolution?
Could
Any
we
opposed?
table it?
All right, it's on. And we have a motion to table from Councilman Miola. What I'm going to do is just summarize this really quick before we have a second from Beatrice on the motion to table. Be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Utica has abolished Section 3-2-48 report of the Standing Committee and Section 3-2.52 meetings of standing committees. The new Section 3-2.48 shall read as follows. Section 3-2-48 Committee of the Whole. The section, as provided to the press and in the packet and discussed in comments, describes how the Committee of Whole will be structured, used, and scheduled. Your votes. Or, I'm sorry, there's a motion to table. Your
Yes,
votes
sir.
on that motion. Any opposed? It's been tabled.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Proposed resolution number 9, resolution amending section 3-2-59-1 of the Rules of Order. We have a motion to introduce.
A motion to introduce.
We have a motion to
resolution number
introduce. Well, it's up to you guys. We have a motion to introduce. All right, a second from Lemetico.
City Zoo, that should be you.
Any opposed to introducing resolution amending section 3259-1? No one's opposed, it's been introduced. I'm going to read the legislation since this may be voted on. Resolution, be it resolved that the Rules of Order, section 3259 shall read as follows. Section 3259-1, submission of communications and requests by department heads, exception to the Thursday rule. The members of the Common Council are also governed by the provisions of section 3259-1 above. All legislation by members of Common Council shall be submitted no later than the end of the business day on Thursday prior to the regular meeting. The following exceptions to the Thursday rule: transfers, bond ordinances, special legislation from the law department, resolution and ordinances that are time sensitive. Further, that if legislation is submitted beyond the Thursday rule prior to the next regular meeting, a motion may be made and seconded requesting that the Thursday rule be waived and that the Thursday rule will be waived by an affirmative vote by the majority of the Common Council.
Mr. President, you had that as a full council, correct? Yes. Okay, thank you.
So there was a motion to put full council on this.
To sponsor.
Well, we have to do it out here because it was just introduced. Full council, thank you. It's introduced, the department heads. Deputy Chief, you have something to state?
2 matters of public safety apply to the exceptions to the rule.
Not as written. It says special legislation from the law department, but it doesn't specify as the prior section did.
Make a motion to make an amendment to put public safety on there.
We can amend.
I'll second that amendment.
It's, how do you want to specify that? Because public safety is pretty much, you know.
What it is, fire, police,
So any legislation to deal with public safety, you want to just go around?
Safety's paramount. Judge, you got anything on that?
It's a generic.
I think,
Yeah, maybe you could.
I think we have been following a rule that the ordinances involving traffic amendments that have been approved by public safety are not subject to the Thursday rule.
Right.
And we just say we could put a 5.
Those exceptions, actually, those exceptions were to bypass the committee system. It had nothing to do with the Thursday rule.
We were not at the committee system, or this is for the Thursday rule.
I'm referring.
I understand that, but let's worry about the committee system when we get there.
Judge, with all due respect, let me explain something, please. The current rules of order, the current Thursday rule, and the current statement as referred to by Deputy Police Chief Noonan, the current rules of order did not, there was exceptions to the committee system with the traffic legislation. So if you'd like to take the statement about the traffic legislation from the current rules, which reads, I can't remember the exact statement, but that was in a different section of the rules prior. So this is a completely new section, the exceptions. The exceptions were for the committee system.
Well, the committee system is a question. So if you don't want to handle that tonight, you can pass this and we can amend it later when you've decided on the committee system.
Yeah, I think the wording.
But I personally think that the amendment I offered is good enough because it's in this legislation. And if this legislation is adopted, this is what supersedes any other legislation. Okay? And that's what I would recommend that you add.
Point of inquiry, Mr. President.
Ordinances concerning traffic, ordinances that concern traffic changes and amendments that are approved by public safety. That are approved by the Department of Public Safety.
What type of exceptions would you want in it?
Hold on, Councilman, there was a point of order.
Would you let the councilman make a suggestion?
I am. Councilman Moody requested the floor.
Language is up to you. We know what we're talking about. Anything you agree to is all right. If you put it in here, it becomes a regulation of your
Councilman Moody.
your rules. And the other thing is really not in the discussion right now.
All right, so Councilman Moody, you have the floor.
The chief asked a question saying, does that exclude public safety? If you read number 4, it says resolutions and ordinances that are time sensitive. So the response could have been, it's already covered with number 4, if I'm reading it properly. Right?
Correct.
All right. So, chief, you're all covered.
Thank you. All right, so.
Are you making a motion, Councilman?
No.
No, he was clarifying.
We don't need a motion. You wrote it well.
It is written. There's one.
Disregard, Judge, it's fine, it's fine.
Mr. President, I do have an amendment.
We sort of jumped on something we didn't need to. You were right. You were good. All right, thank you.
Is the council bringing this to a vote?
Yes.
Your votes. Your votes.
All right, let's vote on it.
Your votes.
I think I already did.
Try and amend it later.
8 yeas adopted.
Thank you. All right, next order of business, resolution approving the granting of an easement for gas service to Niagara Mohawk for the NIPA Visitor Center at the Utica Zoo. Is there a motion to introduce this? We have a motion to introduce from Councilman Williamson.
Point of
Second.
order, does it have a sponsor?
Well, it is. The sponsor is the person who introduces it.
Okay.
So when something's introduced on the floor, the person who moves that is the sponsor of said legislation or resolution. Correct. Right. But, all right, yes. So Williamson. We have a second from DeBrango. Any opposed to introducing this? All right, I'll just summarize. It was read in caucus, whereas Niagara Mohawk. I do need to, I have to introduce. We're almost there. We got one more piece. Yeah. Whereas Niagara Mohawk is a public corporation having an address of 300 Erie Boulevard, West Syracuse, New York, 13202, and resolved that the mayor and his authorized representative is authorized to execute the attached grant of easement and any other necessary documents to effectuate this resolution. All right, now there is a motion to table from Councilman Williamson. We have a second from many people. Beatrice had his hand up first. That's the second. Any opposed to laying this on the table to council? All right, it's on the table. Resolution number 11. This is a resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible costs. Would someone like to introduce this on the floor this evening? We have Councilman Lemetico. Lemetico is the sponsor. We have a second? We have a second from DeBrango. Any opposed to introducing this legislation? Okay, I'm going to read this. Whereas a project for the Utica Pedestrian Safety Action Plan, PSAP, City of Utica, Oneida County, PIN number 2650.55, the project is eligible for funding under Title 23 U.S. Code as amended that calls for the apportionment of the cost of such program to be borne at the ratio of 100% federal funds and 0% non-federal funds, and now therefore the Common Council duly convened does hereby resolve that a certified copy that this resolution be filed with the New York State Commissioner of Transportation by attaching it to any necessary agreement in connection with the project, and it is further resolved that the resolution shall take effect immediately. This was discussed in caucus. Is there any debate before we bring this to a vote?
I'd like to bring this full council.
All right, there's a motion to put the full council on this. Would everyone like to be listed as a sponsor? Thank you. Full council. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, we got a second from Moody. Any opposed? Have a great evening. Thank you.